dancing in the flames. The people cursed his name, bowed at the altar of the father of lies. But there's a number to their days and all their evil ways. The Lord's gonna turn away from all their cries. Oh, revelation, I can feel it coming like a dark train running. Oh, get ready, 'cause the King is coming. The King is coming back again. Brimstone upon their heads, millstones around their necks. They'll feel the shaking when the trumpet sounds. And no matter where they hide, there'll be nowhere to run when Jesus puts his mighty foot on the ground. Oh, revelation, I can feel it coming like a dark train running.
Hey friends, this is John Rich's new song called Revelation. See what you think. It's a pretty awesome video. You should go check it out. This is just the Rumble and X audience. I've not tuned into Facebook because they give me all kind of crap when I try to play a good song. I wanted to play an early couple of clips for you to tell you who I think really have made some great statements at the GOP convention. This first one I want to play for you is the mother, and you may have heard this. She had a child that died of fentanyl overdose, and she squarely blames this on Mr. Biden. See what you think.
Hi, my name is Ann Fundner, and I am the wife and mother of 4 children. I'm standing here today to share the tragic reality of open borders. I'm here to share the story of my firstborn son, my everything.
You might want to get some Kleenex. Okay, this lady strikes at the heart of everyone in the audience.
My Weston. My family and I were living in Southern California when President Biden took office and opened our borders. My Weston was 15. He was an amazing big brother to his 3 younger siblings. Weston attended church twice a week, played football and hockey, and he loved to surf. He had a big heart, and he lived to make people laugh. He had so many good friends. And I was always vigilant to be the best mother that I could be. I was room mom, school ambassador, and I attended all of his sports. We had family dinners and barbecues at the beach. And like most teenagers, Weston wanted to fit in. And in a moment of peer pressure, he tried something that someone gave to him, and it took my baby's life. We did everything right. I had those conversations with him, and fentanyl still found my son. And on February 27th, 2022, our lives were shattered, and our baby was gone. This was not an overdose, it was a poisoning. His whole future, everything we ever wanted for him was ripped away in an instant. And Joe Biden does nothing. I hold Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, the borders are. What a joke. And Gavin Newsom and every Democrat who supports open borders responsible for the death of my son.
That brought the house down. If you haven't heard that, you should go back and watch this mother give her emotional speech at the Republican National Convention last night, and it's probably one of the biggest pivotal points in at the convention. The other, of course, was Amber Rose, the model actress, if you will, who is far left, 24 million followers on Instagram. Thought Trump was racist, but now supports him.
Hello. My name is
Amber Rose is now on the stage. Let's listen to her. Model, rapper, television personality, ex-girlfriend of Kanye West.
But most importantly,
She's endorsed
I'm a
Donald Trump.
mother.
Let's listen.
My whole world revolves around providing for my children, keeping them safe, and giving them an opportunity for a better life. That's something that unites all American parents. Whether we're Republicans, Democrats, conservatives, or liberals, we all want a better country for our children. But I'm here tonight to tell you, no matter your political background, that the best chance we have to give our babies a better life is to elect Donald Trump President of the United States. Now, you may be wondering why I'm up here telling you this. I'm no politician, and I don't want to be. But I do care about the truth. And the truth is that the media has lied to us about Donald Trump. I know this because for a long time I believed those lies, so I'm here to set the record straight. The first person I knew who supported Donald Trump was my father. I was shocked. My entire family is racially diverse, and I believed the left-wing propaganda that Donald Trump was a racist. My father said, "No, he's not, Amber. What are you talking about?" And when I insisted, he said, "Prove it." So to prove my father wrong, I did my research and looked into all things Donald Trump. People have to do their research. I watched all the rallies, and I started meeting so many of you, his red hat wearing supporters. I realized Donald Trump and his supporters don't care if you're black, white, gay, or straight. It's all love. And that's when it hit me. These are my people. This is where I belong.
That, my friend, was huge. A lady from the far left, a lady that's hung out with Kim Kardashians and that kind of high-profile people, and she's one of the highest-profile people. The Democrats, everybody's worried, is going to bring in Taylor Swift. I'll take Amber Rose over Taylor Swift any day of the week and twice on Sunday if you're looking for cultural impact, because the people that she runs with and that follow her are the people that probably have believed the mantra and the lies about Donald J. Trump. Now, another impactful moment was the Dallas mayor, Eric Johnson. This was pretty powerful, too. See what you think.
4 years ago, progressive activists stood on my front lawn with the stated goal of intimidating my family. They wanted me to defund the police. I said no.
Now, he's a man of color, and they thought they would intimidate him. And he had guts. He said no.
Folks, I grew up in high-crime neighborhoods. What we wanted was more and better policing, not less.
That right there, those opening 41 seconds talks about pro-police. And the Democrats now have Amber Rose, who is a lady of color, actually interracial, speaking pro-Trump, and they have now the Dallas mayor Eric Johnson speaking pro-Trump, and it's killing them. They're going crazy on the networks. And then J.D. Vance, I'll play for you in a little bit, talks about why he used to hate Trump and why he now loves Trump, and he's glad to serve as his vice president. So what's going on at the GOP convention is very interesting. It's a rallying. It's a uniting. You're having a lot of even never Trumpers are surrendering and saying, "Hey, let's unite the party." So I thought this was very powerful. So we're getting ready to have a wonderful show. This is Macil Duncan on the Macil Duncan Radio Show, and we're about to bring in a couple of radio stations in the area. So while we're waiting, my new favorite song, Fight, Fight, Fight.
Impeached twice, arrested 4 times, 91 charges they tried to undermine. They attempted to take him off the ballot, faced an assassin's shot. But even after getting shot, he raised his fist high. Fight, 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 America's pride. With freedom's flag, we'll never hide. In the face of the storm, we'll unite. Strong police are charged with courage and might. Fight, 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 America's pride. With freedom's flag, we'll never hide. In the face of the storm, we'll unite. Strong police are charged with courage and might. Through fire and fight, he stands with grace. In the heart of our nation, he finds his place. His voice echoes strong in every land. For the land of the free, he takes a stand. Fight, 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 America's pride. With freedom's flag, we'll never hide. In the face of the storm, we'll unite. Strong police are charged with courage and might. Fight, 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 America's pride. With freedom's flag, we'll never hide. In the face of the storm, we'll unite. Strong police are charged with courage and might. In the land of the brave, our rights we defend. With Trump at the helm, we'll fight to the end. From coast to coast, our spirit won't yield. United we stand, with justice as our shield. Fight, 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 America's pride. With freedom's flag, we'll never hide. In the face of the storm, we'll unite. Strong police are charged with courage and might.
Fight, Fight, Fight. That's the new song, and you might check it out. You can go to Trump Train Music, or just type in Fight, Fight, Fight Trump, and it'll pop up. It's a pretty powerful song, and it's climbing in the iTunes charts, and it's just been released since, of course, the 2 days ago when he had the assassination attempt on his life, and he stood on his feet and said, "Fight, fight, fight," if you guys remember that. And it's so inspiring, even to the present day. A lot of folks are still shocked at how well it's turned out. So, welcome, my friends. This is Macil Duncan. Welcome to the Macil Duncan Show. Those of you in Chattanooga, 96.9 FM, and we appreciate you joining. We've also got our friends in Alabama. Appreciate the Alabama Network and also the New Jersey Freedom Network. We're also carried, as you know, USAHeartbeat.com, StreetLevelAmerica.com, that has me in 32 states, Mexico, and Canada. We're also on the MacilDuncanRadio.com. You can catch my show fully on Rumble and X, the extra stuff prior to radio and the few comments afterwards. Because, you know, Facebook doesn't like you to say certain things or play certain songs, and allows me a little freedom because Rumble and X are a whole lot more kinder, if you will, to the conservative. Well, as we move along, there's a lot happening. I think a lot of you probably are like me saying, I can't believe how this convention's going. Donald Trump is scoring big, and he's scoring with big hits. Now, Nikki Haley, Ron DeSantis, the folks that were his critics have come alongside. You've got folks like just different never Trumpers. Let's just not going down the list and look like we're being mean. But then you have some like Chris Christie that just can't get over it. He can't come to the convention. I don't know if he even got an invite. Different. The governor of New Hampshire, even though he pulled against Trump and was a Nikki Haley supporter, he was in an interview today supporting Trump, but he did not attend the convention either. But he did say we need to unite. So the never Trumpers and the anti establishment are shrinking. But the thing I noticed, and see if you do too, ever since Ronna McDaniel has stepped down, think about that. They have a different message. Some feel, because her ties, of course, as family to Mitt Romney, was she intentionally sandbagging the GOP? Because they should have had a red wave in the midterms and 2020 and also in 2022. She was a major disappointment, and the buck stops here. But here's Vance. He'll be speaking tonight, J.D. Vance, on why he reversed from disliking Trump to now supporting Trump and even serving as his vice president. J.D. Vance.
Wrong about something, you should change your mind and be honest with people about that fact.
I want to address how JD is not a typical MAGA conservative. He has had a political evolution. And you can see the media going after him for this, and he's facing it head on, which is exactly what you have to do. Here he is talking about some of the things he has said about Donald Trump in the past.
Yeah, well, I think the simple answer is you've got to respect the American people enough to just level with them. Look, I was wrong about Donald Trump. I didn't think he was going to be a good president, Brett. He was a great president, and it's one of the reasons why I'm working so hard to make sure he gets a second term. I think you should. When you're wrong about something, you should change your mind and be honest with people about that fact. And I actually think, again, whether this is running as his running mate or running and supporting him as United States Senator, Brett, I think it actually presents a real opportunity to talk to the American people, because a lot of people didn't think Trump was going to be a good president, and a lot of people were happy to be proven wrong. And I think it presents an opportunity for me to make the case to the American people that, look, we have two very different sets of results. 4 years of Joe Biden, 4 years of Donald Trump. We know the Trump record is one of success. The Biden record is one of failure. I came around to Donald Trump, and I think that a lot of Americans will do the exact same thing.
So that's J.D. Vance, who's now his running partner, basically explaining that he said, I was wrong. I had to admit I was wrong. The other big, I think this is still a huge endorsement, is Amber Rose, and she was Monday night.
My name is
Amber Rose is now on the stage. Let's listen to her. Model, rapper, television personality, ex-girlfriend of Kanye West.
But most
She's
importantly,
endorsed
I'm a
Donald Trump.
mother.
Let's listen.
My whole world revolves around providing for my children, keeping them safe, and giving them an opportunity for a better life. That's something that unites all American parents, whether we're Republicans, Democrats, conservatives, or liberals. We all want a better country for our children. But I'm here tonight to tell you, no matter your political background, that the best chance we have to give our babies a better life is to elect Donald Trump President of the United States. Now, you may be wondering why I'm up here telling you this. I'm no politician, and I don't want to be. But I do care about the truth. And the truth is that the media has lied to us about Donald Trump. I know this because for a long time I believed those lies, so I'm here to set the record straight. The first person I knew who supported Donald Trump was my father. I was shocked. My entire family is racially diverse. And I believed the left-wing propaganda that Donald Trump was a racist. My father said, "No, he's not, Amber. What are you talking about?" And when I insisted, he said, "Prove it." So to prove my father wrong, I did my research and looked into all things Donald Trump. People have to do their research. I watched all the rallies, and I started meeting so many of you, his red hat wearing supporters. I realized Donald Trump and his supporters don't care if you're black, white, gay, or straight. It's all love. White, gay, or straight. It's all love. All love. All love. And that's when it hit me. These are my people. And that's when it hit me. These are my people. These are my people. These are my people. This is where I belong.
Boom. CNN, a lot of the liberal networks are going crazy because of this endorsement. Amber Rose is probably one of the biggest people on the stage because, you know, they brought out Sarah Huckabee. You expected Laura Trump. All did excellent jobs, don't get me wrong. But they knocked it out of the park. And I just want to play for you briefly again. And now, if you're with the Rumble crowd, you're going to hear it just one more time. This was the mayor of Dallas. Listen to the first 41 seconds of this man of color. They tried to intimidate him, and he said no.
4 years ago, progressive activists stood on my front lawn with the stated goal of intimidating my family. They wanted me to defund the police. I said no. Folks, I grew up in high-crime neighborhoods. What we wanted was more and better policing, not less.
That 41 seconds is gold. To have a man of color who is well educated, has achieved, obviously in life, he's the mayor of Dallas, standing up to lip-lock liberalism. So you got him, Amber Rose, powerful. And I'll play for you in a little bit the mother who had a son die of fentanyl. That was powerful too. I tell you, the GOP has done a great job this year of bringing a great coalition together. So many folks think, is the election over? Now, I don't think so. But I think a lot of folks are concerned on the Democrat side. Here's a little clip. Bizarre reason why no sniper was on roof where Trump shooter was hiding.
Should that roof have been secure, period?
That building in particular has a sloped roof, at its highest point. And so, you know, there's a safety factor that would be considered there, that we wouldn't want to put somebody up on a sloped roof.
That doesn't make sense.
And so, you know, the decision was made to secure the building from inside.
Police sniper were inside the building as the Trump rally shooter fired
Wouldn't
on
want to put
top
somebody
of
up on a sloped roof.
You're fired. Get out of here.
That's what needs to happen. The CIA director, the word is she will be standing before Capitol Hill Monday for an explanation of why she was so derelict in duty. More and more keeps coming out. You've watched some of the stuff, but it's very amazing how this happened. How in the world could they let a kid, I know it's just kind of like the Kennedy shooting. How did he get inside a building and be able to get off the rounds he did against Kennedy? Well, in case you haven't heard, there was another man with an armed weapon that was just arrested in Milwaukee.
An armed man in a ski mask has been arrested while approaching the Republican National Convention. Security services found the 21-year-old armed with an AK-47 pistol while conducting security sweeps of the area. It's the second security incident in the RNC's vicinity today as a man was shot and killed earlier today. Officers fired their weapons when two men were reportedly fighting and one pulled out a knife. The incident took place about 2 kilometres from the convention site. It does not appear related. It shows how quickly police are moving there.
So, I don't know. People have mixed opinions. I've heard folks say that they shot too soon with the guy with the knife. But here's a guy with a gun trying to get into the GOP convention. And some, you know, you got to ask yourself, they don't want Trump to win. They don't want him in the race. And here's part of the reason why. Listen to CNN.
Just take a look between the then and now. This is the then. This is the 2020 presidential election. This is Joe Biden's overwhelming and convincing win in the Electoral College. Yes, the former president was in the room here tonight. Others in the room here tonight still say this was a rigged or unfair election. That's not true. It's just not true. Joe Biden won, and he won big.
You keep telling yourself that.
But this is our current CNN projection of where we are now. And look at this. If Donald Trump won what we have here, dark red states, solid Republican. Light red states, leaning Republican. If he won just those right there, he would already have the path to 270.
So CNN is projecting if the election were today, right now, Trump has 272 votes pretty much locked up. But that's not all of it. Listen to CNN. They keep continuing how Trump could get to 330.
This is the dire strait for Joe Biden right now on the first night of the Republican convention. Tomorrow is 16 weeks to Election Day. 16 weeks from tomorrow, we count the votes. It is tough to change a map like this in that amount of time. And here's why Democrats are so worried, why so many Democrats are saying, Mr. President, please reconsider and get out of this race.
Come on, man.
Right now, Trump is leading here. And Trump is leading here. Narrowly, but he's ahead in those states. Trump is leading here. That's 312 electoral votes. Trump is leading in this Nebraska congressional district. Let me change it that way. Nebraska does it by congressional district. That's 313 electoral votes. And Democrats are warning that Trump may not be well ahead. It may still be margin of error. It might be a tie. But right now, Trump is competitive here. That's blue Virginia. That's blue New Hampshire. So the warnings to the White House are Donald Trump could conceivably, if the current dynamics in the race hold, get 330 or more electoral votes.
Look, I know you gotta be frustrated. I know. I can taste it.
Joe Biden has essentially one, maybe two, narrow paths to 270. Donald Trump has so many. There are viable paths to get him as high as 330, which means you can take some states away, Jake, and he would still get to 270. Donald Trump on the first night of his convention, and Democratic people who are studying the data closely say it keeps getting worse for the president. Donald Trump opened his convention tonight in a commanding position in this race, period. So many Democrats are saying, Mr. President, please reconsider and get out of this race.
You made me the nominee, no one else, not the press, not the pundits, not the insiders, not donors. You, the voters, you decided, no one else, and I'm not going anywhere.
So Joe the Biden is getting pressure again. He got a loaded phone call today with many of his party, and the word is he got angry. And then the ABC News reported anger's a part of dementia. The media is kind of turning on the guy. And so he also spoke, Joe Biden, at an NAACP speech. And this is Sky News from Australia, mind you, commenting on Joe Biden and his recklessness at the NAACP.
Despite all the demonisation and hatred in US politics, Joe Biden doesn't sound like he's going to pull back on his attacks against Donald Trump. Have a listen.
Just because we must lower the temperature in our politics is related to violence, it doesn't mean we should stop telling the truth. Who you are, what you've done, what you'll do, that's fair game.
Look, I reckon this is reckless, Liz, because what he's saying is really the victim of most of the hatred in Donald Trump should be the one to lower his temperature. The rest of us will keep attacking him.
100%. And what he's doing here is sticking with the Dems' narrative of, no, we have the upper ground.
Yeah, the high moral ground.
The morality of this. Yes, we're up on the high horse. We have the high moral ground. And it feeds into that very dangerous narrative of, well, whatever happens, is it really undeserved? And that is something that simply cannot continue along this trajectory. We've got months until the election. Heaven knows. I doubt very much this is going to be the first and only attempt to take Donald Trump's life.
I hate to speculate about stuff like that.
Did you hear what she said? I doubt this will be the first and only attempt to take Donald Trump's life. Again, this was reported in Milwaukee.
An armed man in a ski mask has been arrested while approaching the Republican National Convention. Security services found the 21-year-old armed with an AK-47 pistol while conducting security sweeps of the area.
So this was today. This comment was yesterday. How does the media know, or are they just anticipating that Donald Trump is going to be under continual fire, if you will, trying to take him out of the race. Now, tonight, it's going to be interesting. Tonight will be the speech by J.D. Vance. And I think J.D. Vance was the perfect pick. That was my pick here at the end, was as we were getting closer, I felt like he was the guy, the best one, because after especially after the assassination attempt, he no longer needed a Marco Rubio or a Tim Scott, someone that was going to help him maybe with, folks of minority status, if you will. What he needed desperately, and J.D. Vance can deliver, is that middle of the country, that Pennsylvania, that Michigan, that Wisconsin, that blue-collar, union-working folk. And being from Ohio, raised by a single mother, he's a Marine. He's got the blue-collar blueprint, if you will. And J.D. Vance responds to Jennifer Lawrence, who kind of criticizes him and says, "No, you're a rich blankety blank just like me." Here, J.D. Vance take on Jennifer Lawrence from Hollywood.
My husband JD grew up in Middletown, and things weren't easy. His mom struggled with addiction, and his dad wasn't there. But JD was lucky. He was raised by his loving grandmother, and he served his country as a Marine in Iraq.
Yep, less than 2 months to the midterms, and the Ohio Senate race is intensifying, doing some bio ads there. Republican candidate J.D. Vance pushing himself as a common man who's in touch with Ohio voters, maybe because he is. But out of touch, Hollywood says, not so fast. Get this. Wealthy A-lister actress, glamour queen Jennifer Lawrence, she's really good at acting, is questioning whether Vance is a common man after all, complaining in an interview to Vogue magazine, which is an interesting topic, by the way, the Ohio Senate race for a Hollywood glamour queen, where she said this, quote, "He is not a hillbilly if he wrote a huge book. Rich bleep? I mean, I'm a rich bleep, but I'm not running for office pretending that I'm not." Wow. Here to respond to that tortured logic is the Republican candidate from Ohio himself, the author of Hillbilly Elegy, J.D. Vance. J.D., you're on Jennifer Lawrence's mind. How do you feel of her calling you a fraud?
Well, look, if we're criticizing each other, Brian, I'd just say that Jennifer Lawrence's performance in Hunger Games 3 was a little one-dimensional, I think. So, look, at the end of the day, she's a Hollywood liberal who's criticizing a Republican Senate candidate. I think her movies are great, don't really care that much about her politics, and don't really care about it beyond that.
Does she think that people in rural America can't read, or if you can't possibly write a book if you grew up poor?
That's sort of the implication, is that those of us who actually do buy books and read out here in the heartland are somehow not representative. I think that's ridiculous. I know a lot of people, a lot of friends and family who do like to read books, including mine. So look, it's a classic example of Hollywood getting involved in politics. This is why the Oscars have all-time low ratings. This is why people have tuned out the politics of Hollywood. They're there for entertainment. And I think when they do it well, great. But at the end of the day, they should leave politics to the people who actually vote and try to run elections in this country.
Booyah. Now, this was back when he was running for Senate, but this is just a taste of what Kamala Harris has ahead. Because many folks feel when the VP debate takes place, Kamala Harris is going to be way out of her league dealing with him. And if you guys remember this, this is a report just a few weeks ago how Kamala Harris's her own staff is turning against her again.
I think it's going to be a challenge to see the two of them face to face. I mean, maybe it's just me.
Let's flash back to just a couple weeks ago. Now, this is June 7th, 2024. So what is this? 5 weeks ago. Kamala's former comms director was on TV talking about J.D. Vance, and listen to this.
I think J.D. Vance would pose the greatest threat to Kamala Harris in some respects. I mean, he's an incredible debater. I think he has this quality that makes him seem palpable to that 1 to 2% that actually might vote, or that, that's undecided, that will actually pay attention to the debates, because most people don't pay attention to the debates. And I think he's just got a quality about him where he's super smart and sharp and quick-witted. I just think that, I think it's going to be a challenge to see the two of them face to face. I mean, maybe it's just me, but I think he's going to be the greatest threat to her.
That is quite an admission from Kamala's former comms director. He's sharp, smart, and quick-witted. Those are three things that have never been said about Kamala Harris. So
that's the Rubin report, by the way. And that is so true. They've not said anything like that about Kamala Harris. J.D. Vance, I think more and more folks are starting to like him the more they're learning. By the way, on Netflix, his film, it's a Hillbilly exclusive, whatever the name of his book is. Netflix said that the viewing of his film has gone up 1,000% since he was nominated. Again, this is a Straight Arrow News reporting about the selection of J.D. Vance.
How Americans get their electricity will largely be affected by the outcome of the upcoming presidential election. And we're getting a better idea of what a Trump energy policy would look like.
Wow. Google just doesn't like us. They're doing all they can to mess up these things. But they were talking about the Straight Arrow News, how he's got a connection with energy companies and his, especially the coal coalitions, etc., like that. So I think J.D. Vance is going to be a huge help when it comes to those areas. Now, let me go here. There was a couple of others I thought was interesting, and Representative Adam, from California, is calling for Biden to step down. I don't know if you heard this, but Adam Schifter, Mr. Pencilneck himself, Adam Schiff, becomes the latest Democrat to call for Biden to drop out of the race. He did this the eve of J.D. Vance being nominated. I really think some of the powerful folks speaking at the GOP, but the addition of J.D. Vance, because I don't think Rubio, I don't think Smith or Tim Scott, I don't think any of them scared the Democrats really. J.D. Vance scares them not because of just him being a good VP. J.D. Vance, I think, scares them for the future. They realize not only Kamala Harris cannot deal with him in a debate, in 2028, she's dead meat if she's their pick. So I think they're more panicked now. They need to get someone else out there to be their voice, their face of the party. Akeem Jeffries isn't cutting it either. A lot of folks talk about Mike Johnson and that he's a weak new leader, but I still try to give him, if you want to call it, some help, if you will, or some love, because think about it. He was thrown into that in the middle of a term. He wasn't looking to be speaker. It's not like he campaigned, planned, and had aspirations for this. He was picked after McCarthy was kicked out. Jim Jordan and Scalise couldn't get the votes, and the other guy, he was thrown in, if you will, and so he's had to rise to the occasion. And so give him a little bit of break. I know some of you don't want to give him a break, but I do, and I'm looking forward to see what Mike Johnson will do with Donald Trump as president if he has the House and the Senate. Can you imagine if he has a Josh Hawley or a Senator Blackburn leading the Senate? Now, I'm a big fan if Marsha Blackburn could get the nod to take Mitch McConnell's place. I don't know what others think, but I think Marsha Blackburn will be a huge stroke. One, because she's a strong lady of faith. She's a strong lady pro-life. And I just think right now, especially since he's got two guys on the ticket, let's just be honest, Speaker of the House, I would go with a lady, guys, as your Senate Majority Leader, and you cannot get anyone with a better background than Marsha Blackburn. Okay, done pushing my personal favorite there. Adam Schiff becomes the latest Democrat to call for Biden to drop out of the race. Now, let me tell you who J.D. Vance reminds me of. Dan Quayle. Dan Quayle was a great vice president. Now, they mislabeled him. This was prior to us having the ability to do our own research. They set him up by misspelling potato. I've read his book. You may have heard his side of that. But he said, for some reason, I'm doing a gig at an elementary school, and the next thing I know, there's cameras all over the place. And he goes, I'm the vice president. But it looked like, the biggest press conference in the world. And the next thing I know, I'm asked to spell words on the blackboard with kids, and they'd have cue cards in the back. They held up the word potato spelt wrong. And I thought, that doesn't look right, but I went ahead with the cue card because of the pressure. And sure enough, he goes, they set me up, and that's all they talked about. Does anybody remember that? Misspelling the word potato. And they're trying to act like Dan Quayle didn't have the intellect, the intelligence to be vice president, much less be the future president or representation of the GOP. And so they went after Dan Quayle, and they'll go after J.D. Vance, have no doubt. But the beauty of today is we have the ability to do our own research. You have people like me that try to bring truth to you, so you have some opinions that go against the narrative of the mainstream media. But Adam Schiff, for him to panic, because just a week ago, he was kind of in the camp of, hey, you know, Biden's a nominee. It's his choice. But see, what they know now is if Biden doesn't step down willingly and they 25th him, the problem is those finances are going to be tied up. See, he's got, 150 million. There's 200 some million, but 150 of that is in the care of Joe the Biden. And I don't think we've ever heard where Joe Biden's been known to be generous with funds to anyone but himself. So, and Jill Biden, who probably is his executor of his estate, if you will, she's not going to be willing to turn over all those funds. So I think that's going to be the interesting thing for, that's just me, what's going to go on. So Adam Schiff came out, and he's calling for Joe Biden to drop out of the election, becoming the most prominent Democrat lawmaker so far to publicly push for the different presidential nominee. In a statement Wednesday reported by the Los Angeles Times, Schiff said he was seriously concerned that Biden cannot beat former President Donald Trump, the Republican nominee, in the upcoming election. We also have Senate and House to think about as well, down ballot races. So this is in the USA Today. It's in the LA Times. It's also in Axios. Those are left-leaning. These are left-leaning news agencies calling for Biden to step down. Now, Biden has said, if you can prove to me that I can't win, supposedly he said he would step down. A lot of us aren't seeing this. Now, Axios pretty much covers the same way that USA Today did, and they ranks Democrat members in Congress calling for the president. If you want to go to Axios, you can actually get a list. It's, I think, over 30 now of Democrats calling for Joe Biden to step out of the race. So I think that's going to be interesting to see. Now, I think the one thing that really touched us all, and you could go to Blaze Media, is the mom of a 15-year-old who died from fentanyl gives an emotional speech, and it's probably the best speech at the convention. Ann Funder tied the tragic death of her son to President Joe Biden and his weakness of the border, and she said she holds Joe Biden and Kamala Harris and the Democratic Party responsible for her son's death, a 15-year-old who was talked into doing some drugs he did not know laced with fentanyl, and it took his life. She said this was not an overdose, this was a poisoning. So the fundraiser said, the funder mom said her son went to church twice a week in Southern California, and she tried to protect him from drugs, but tragically found her family still was out. And it's one of her quotes, like most teenagers, Weston wanted to fit in. And in a moment of peer pressure, he tried something that someone gave him, and it took my baby's life. We did everything right. I had those conversations with him, and fentanyl still found my son. This was not an overdose. This was a poisoning. I hold Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, the border czar, what a joke, and Gavin Newsom, and every Democrat who support open borders responsible for the death of my son. Powerful moment at the convention. And I don't know if you heard that speech, but I'm going to play a little bit for you right now. It's a tad emotional. You might need a Kleenex, but here is the mother really bringing some reality to all of us at the convention.
Hi. My name is Ann Funner, and I am the wife and mother of 4 children. I'm standing here today to share the tragic reality of open borders. I'm here to share the story of my firstborn son, my everything, my Weston. My family and I were living in Southern California when President Biden took office and opened our borders. My Weston was 15. He was an amazing big brother to his 3 younger siblings. Weston attended church twice a week, played football and hockey, and he loved to surf. He had a big heart, and he lived to make people laugh. He had so many good friends. And I was always vigilant to be the best mother that I could be. I was room mom, school ambassador, and I attended all of his sports. We had family dinners and barbecues at the beach. And like most teenagers, Weston wanted to fit in. And in a moment of peer pressure, he tried something that someone gave to him, and it took my baby's life. We did everything right. I had those conversations with him, and fentanyl still found my son. And on February 27th, 2022, our lives were shattered, and our baby was gone. This was not an overdose, it was a poisoning. His whole future, everything we ever wanted for him was ripped away in an instant. And Joe Biden does nothing. I hold Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, the borders are, what a joke, and Gavin Newsom and every Democrat who supports open borders responsible for the death of my son.
As you can tell, very emotional. Everyone's crying in the audience. Very, very touching.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Powerful. The border is its bottom line, in my opinion, and it comes down to that border to see what's going to happen. And for Adam Schiff and the Democrats to be this scared, it tells you that there's something going on. Something has got their attention, and I think it's interesting. The other thing that's got everyone's attention, of course, is the former CIA, or the CIA director. But a former CIA agent, by the way, was just arrested today. Something's going on among the, if you want to call them the alphabet agencies. If you see my hat today, FBI, Jesus, FBI mean firm believer in Jesus. That's the FBI I believe in Jesus, of course, not the one we have today. But check this out.
A former CIA analyst is accused of acting as a secret South Korean agent in exchange for lavish gifts. That's according to an indictment issued by the U.S. government. Now a foreign policy specialist, Sumi Terry, worked for the CIA and on the White House National Security Council under the administrations of Presidents George W. Bush and Barack Obama. The indictment says Terry pushed for South Korea policy positions and provided private U.S. government information to South Korean intelligence and allowed South Korean government officials access to U.S. counterparts. In exchange, South Korean intelligence agents provided her with dinners at Michelin-starred restaurants, expensive handbags and clothes, and more than $37,000 in covert funding for a public policy program on Korean affairs she ran. The U.S. claims Terry began work as a Korean agent in 2013, 2 years after she left the U.S. government, and her covert efforts lasted a decade. Terry is now a senior fellow at the Council on Foreign Relations and an expert on East Asia and the Korean Peninsula. The Council on Foreign Relations put Terry on unpaid administrative leave and said it will cooperate with any investigation. Terry's lawyer called the allegations unfounded and said they distort the work of a scholar and news analyst known for her independence and years of service to the United States.
Well, we'll find out, but she worked under some, I guess, very left-leaning administrations. And it's interesting that she did this after the administration. Sometimes people, they miss the power. You know, they're in office, and a lot of folks, if you notice, get in trouble once they're out of office. I think they miss the rush. I was the youth pastor in South Haven, Mississippi, and one of my youth, his father was a former Top Gun pilot and instructor. And he talked about how he missed the rush. He would even go rent airplanes at the local small airport. I would have those things doing the highest they could go, but it wasn't even close. It's like riding a tricycle after you're used to a Harley. He said he missed the rush, and he had model planes show me. Of course, that's back when Top Gun had come out, the first one. So I think that's what happened. I think they missed the power. And I think that's what's going on with Jill Biden right now. Jill Biden knows this is her last shot at power, and many feel that she is holding back Joe from stepping down. Here's Straight Arrow News on the mugshot and escaping the assassination, Trump's iconic imagery.
At the moment I heard the shots being fired, I knew that this was a moment in American history that had to be documented. I mean, it's our job as journalists to do this work.
This photo, now snapped into the time capsule of American history by Associated Press photographer Evan Vucci. They say a picture is worth 1,000 words. This one telling the story of July 13th, 2024, the day former President Trump was nearly assassinated. The media reported on the photo's significance, a powerful photograph that could change America forever. How Trump has turned vulnerability into power, one image at a time. Trump just created one of the most iconic photos in U.S. history. While most ducked down and took cover, photographers out of instinct got closer to the danger area, infiltrated by gunfire. The imagery out of Trump's rally in rural Pennsylvania is shocking, not only to Americans, but to the world. A deadly and devastating moment, one that a Chinese market is already making money off of. In China, souvenir-like t-shirts with the photo front and center popped up on e-commerce sites quickly, and thousands were sold in the first few hours after the shooting. But the Associated Press says they reserve the rights to this powerful image, and most of the Chinese shop links for t-shirts are no longer accessible.
Hang on.
Trump has a history of being the centerfold of historic photos, including his mugshot taken in Georgia's election interference case. That photo and this one alike are fuel to the fire of American politics, 112 days out from Election Day.
Did you catch that? They said Donald Trump's becoming the centerfold, boy, of iconic photos. The different shots of him. And you got to admit, he's got the mug shot, and now he's got the fight, the fish shot. Donald Trump is collecting quite the attention, and it's got to have something that's really upsetting, too. If I were a Democrat, I would find this news upsetting as well, because you're trying to win elections. See, when someone like a Donald Trump is on the rise, and they call it, say, for instance, the red wave, then you're going to have a huge voter turnout that comes down ballot. Because a lot of folks will probably just go in, if they want to vote for Trump, and just vote all Republican. You can do that. I don't advise that. I think you should go candidate by candidate. I am not one that says you should just vote one party. That's me. Okay? I get folks that ask me all the time, Macil, who should I vote for? And I get asked about different commissioners in the area, school board positions, judgeships, and I tell them who I'm voting for and what I recommend, and it's up to them. I never tell folks who to vote for. I tell them who I'm voting for when they ask, okay? And it does come up quite some time, of course, between now and the election. I was asked again today, hey, who you got in this particular race, and what's your thoughts? And so the Hamilton County area, there's quite a few options coming up with the upcoming election, so you need to be mindful of that. So anyway, with that said, I thought this was interesting. This was a new term I'm learning, and it's called Blueanon. Have any one of you heard of Blueanon? Now, you've probably heard of QAnon, the Q movement. Those that they label as patriot, far right-winged patriots. Now they're trying to relabel them, of course, white nationalists, okay. Anyway, Blueanon is a conspiracy group, and it's Democrats, okay? These are Democrats who are very left-leaning. Now, here's the interesting thing that's being brought. You can go to Gateway Pundit and see this article. Blueanon conspiracy. Democrats accuse Trump of staging his own assassination attempt. They claim Trump uses fake blood with the help of Secret Service. Okay? Members of the Democratic Party who are clearly suffering from severe TDS, which is Trump derangement syndrome, and are victims of fake news propaganda, have accused President Trump of staging his own assassination attempt. Conservative content creator and political commentator James Klug recently visited Huntington Beach, California to gather public opinion in this contentious issue. The assassination attempt, which tragically resulted in the death of one Trump supporter and left two others critically injured, has stirred a hornet's nest of conspiracy theories. The Blueanons are left-leaning extreme Democrats, and they believe that Donald Trump staged this with the help of the Secret Service. Interesting. Now you've got the QAnon. Now, far-right QAnon, I've got some friends that they believe, and there's a theory among the QAnon that's called devolution theory. They believe that Donald Trump is still the president, and that all this time they've had Joe Biden pretend to be the president, and that we're watching a movie, and that all that's happening up till now is been precisely planned, and Donald Trump is the chess player. And soon, before we know it, we will be told all these deaths happening down at Guantanamo Bay and all these secret tribunals that folks are just playing a part. So what's happening here is the interesting thing is the Blueanons and the QAnons, who are diametrically apart. QAnon, super patriot, far right. Blueanon, super progressives, far left, have been talked into the same theory that Donald Trump staged this shooting. Now think about that. When have you ever seen the far left and the far right agree? Especially with any media helping them. There's a term you might want to look up called MK Ultra. Mind control. CIA. Is it possible? Is it possible? They've been playing both sides all this time. And now they're uniting them in this theory because they're going to start doing stages of conflict pushing to get QAnon and Blueanons to fight and create a civil war. Just a thought, just a theory. The reason I bring that to your attention is I watched the movie Civil War. I waited for it to come down. It was $19.99 for a while, and I said, I'm not paying that much for a lip-lock liberal movie. But I watched it when it came down to $5. Bad movie. I mean, I don't recommend it. But here's the deal. At the very end of the movie, what is very sad, is whoever gets to kill the president. So in the White House, these troops barge into the White House, and the president's there begging for his life. And if you watch the movie, they're trying to make him look like a Trump, a strong personality, and then he gets weakened begging for his life, and of course they shoot him right there in the Oval Office. Is it anyone? That came out in April this year. Hollywood, CIA, all these folks, they seem like they sing from the same song sheet to me at times. Do you find it very interesting that movies about shooting the president and actors and people saying it like they have, and then you actually have someone attempt it this Saturday, and then you had a guy arrested in Milwaukee today trying to get into the GOP convention with a gun? Just saying. I think it's very interesting and very, to me, telling that you have a group of people that that support that to a way they celebrate. They've said stuff like "Don't miss next time" and stuff. And there was a lady at Home Depot that put on her social media that she hopes next time they don't miss. Well, a veteran went to Home Depot and confronted her, and she lost her job. I mean, that is egregious. I wouldn't want to see Obama or Biden or any of the liberals shot. I can't believe folks would go there and say that. But we'll see what happens. Let's see. Congress wants the names of all officers. Let's check this out. This dropped.
Take a look at what happened.
Congress is ramping up its investigation into the assassination attempt on former President Donald Trump. Secret Service Director Kimberly Cheadle is scheduled to testify before the House Oversight Committee Monday, July 22nd. Committee Chairman James Comer stated, "The United States Secret Service has a no-fail mission, yet it failed on Saturday when a madman attempted to assassinate President Trump, killed an innocent victim, and harmed others." Before Cheadle arrives, the committee wants to collect documents, communications, videos, and audio that could shed light on how the shooter got on the roof and pulled the trigger before a Secret Service sniper was able to neutralize him. The committee is asking Cheadle to provide a complete list of all law enforcement officers present at Trump's July 13th rally, including federal, state, and local, and all audio and video recordings in the Secret Service's possession related to President Trump's campaign rally. In addition, the committee wants the following by July 29th. All documents and communications, including text messages and emails between the Secret Service, DHS, and local law enforcement regarding the Butler, Pennsylvania rally, all maps, aerial views, diagrams, and assessments the Secret Service has in its possession, and all remote surveillance data, including but not limited to drones, listening devices, remote cameras, and satellites. The Homeland Security Committee is also inviting Director Cheadle, in addition to Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas and FBI Director Christopher Wray, to a hearing on Tuesday, July 23rd.
Okay. So you're bringing in the Secret Service Director, Mayorkas, who is over Homeland Security, who's over Secret Service, and you're bringing the FBI Director. Okay. Interesting. Now, if it were up to me, someone else suggested this, I would hold hearings outside of D.C. If you look into D.C., the District of Columbia, they have certain protections, if you will.
You have heard it said that you need to use your talents to expand the kingdom of...
So that's where I think we need to consider coming back and understanding that we have a need for, this type of grilling. But for some reason, they get some kind of protection, if you will, at the D.C. area. I don't know. I'm just one of those. Now, Jack Black, who, as you know, a left-leaning, super-duper liberal, halts his tour after one of his buddies makes a stupid remark about Trump, and now I think he's splitting up the band. Is that what they're saying?
Jack Black is breaking up the band, announcing that all future creative plans are on hold with his onstage partner Kyle Gass, following onstage comments Gass made regarding the shooting of former President Trump. The incident occurred when the duo's group Tenacious D was performing a concert in Sydney, Australia, and Black brought out a birthday cake for Gass. Gass responded to Black's request to make a wish with the comment, "Don't miss Trump next time," and blew out the cake's candles. Black and Gass faced severe backlash, leading to widespread condemnation on social media. An Australian senator called for Tenacious D to be deported immediately, stating the comment was not a joke and was deadly serious. Black made a statement on Instagram saying he was blindsided by Gass's comment. Gass issued a public apology, acknowledging his highly inappropriate, dangerous, and terrible mistake. Black and Gass formed the rock comedy Grammy Award-winning band in Los Angeles in 1994. The duo had planned several more shows in Australia and New Zealand before heading back to the United States for additional performances. It's unclear how Black and Gass will creatively move forward. Trump made his first public appearance since the assassination attempt at the Republican National Convention Monday night, sporting a bandage on his right ear. President Biden addressed the nation Sunday night, responding to the political climate, emphasizing the need for national unity in the face of violence.
So Jack Black, to break up his group, a buddy he's had with him since 1994. That tells you there must have been some backlash, because liberals don't do that, my friend. Liberals don't back down a whole lot. So we'll see what happens. But anyway, you got so much happening. And X is moving, by the way, if you haven't heard. They're moving from the California state. And it's going to be interesting to see. Let's see. That's Harris. I don't want to see a Harris campaign. Do you? Nah. Okay. All right. I guess they're just not going to allow us to play. Boy, sometimes Google just is messing with us. They are really not wanting us to play some of these conservative movies. Man. Wow. Well, that's okay. We can continue on without you. Let's see. Biden supposedly reported planning to back major changes to the Supreme Court. And there's people, they're saying they can't believe that he's doing this, but it seems like he's playing to the left. Let's see what you think about this. He's in such a panic mode. He's publicly coming out saying he's going to stack the Supreme Court and make it lip-lock liberal. See what you think.
President Joe Biden is reportedly planning to endorse major reforms at the Supreme Court, including term limits and an updated code of ethics. This comes after recent ethics concerns have been spotlighted in the media, and high-profile decisions on abortion and presidential immunity have some Democrats questioning the High Court's impartiality. Reports say Biden told lawmakers in the Congressional Progressive Caucus during a virtual meeting on Saturday that he had been consulting constitutional scholars on the matter for more than a month. The proposals, which could be unveiled in the coming weeks, would need congressional approval.
Now, they're making fun of, there's a group called Project 2025 by the Heritage Foundation, because the Heritage Foundation is putting together a blueprint plan, if you will, for conservatives, if they ever get control of the House, the Senate, and Congress, how they can come in, especially after the Chevron ruling, and clean house of all these 8,000 to 10,000 government lackeys that are making judgments and laws without the proper course through Constitution. To make a law, you're supposed to go through the Congress and Senate, and then it goes to the president, if you guys remember. And if he vetoes it, they can then try to get 2/3 majority to override a veto. That's how you get laws established in America, okay, that are national. What you have is some lackeys and department groups trying to subvert laws or add to laws. One example, Title IX. Biden tried to use one of his secretaries to go in under the radar and add the Title IX to bring special rights to trans guys thinking that they're girls and playing in sports, etc., like that. Well, then different states sued and said that's not constitutional. The bottom line, if some of these guys hadn't sued, you and I would have to probably live by these little extra rules that are technically illegal. They're not brought through the Congress and the Senate and voted on as a law. The other side of this, the Chevron movement took away these secret judgeships. they have some of these secret judgeships that are making rulings. They're not appointed federally, and they're not voted in democratically. They're just appointed by super rich people. And we're finding out that, as Donald Trump had said in his first term, there's between 8,000 and 10,000 people employed, if you will, that are the deep state, the shadow government. And that's why your taxes keep going up. Donald Trump wants to go in and wipe them out. There's been talk of getting rid of the Department of Education, for instance, putting it back in the states like we did abortion, and letting the states figure out how they want to govern. That's what America was founded on. We are, my friend, a republic, not a democracy. Democracy is mob rule. Republic is rule of law. There's a difference. Check it out. I'll be back shortly after the break coming up. But don't forget, Move Your Mountain is my book, Learn the Journey of Faith. And also don't forget, I have Jolene Carter calling in from Virginia. She's got some good information coming up about what's been going on in Virginia. Her governor was on a short list and almost, what many felt like, became the vice president candidate next to Donald Trump. So it's interesting about that. But the news just broke today on CNN that Virginia now is up in Trump category by, I think, 2 points. So that's going to be interesting. If Donald Trump can flip these different groups like they're saying, that will be interesting. But we're about to go to break, and so I'll be back after these messages.
Just take a look between the then and now. This is the then. This is the 2020 presidential election. This is Joe Biden's overwhelming and convincing win in the Electoral College. Yes, the former president was in the room here tonight. Others in the room here tonight still say this was a rigged or unfair election. That's not true. It's just not true. Joe Biden won, and he won big.
You keep telling yourself that.
But this is our current CNN projection of where we are now. And look at this. If Donald Trump won what we have here, dark red states, solid Republican. Light red states, leaning Republican. If he won just those right there, he would already have the path to 270.
CNN goes on to report how Donald Trump can get up to 330 votes. This just dropped today. Very, very interesting.
Hello, Macil Duncan. You're a great friend. We love listening to your show every day as we're working, going down the road. And I want to promise all you people as a long-term friend when we were just kids that Macil is for real. And I'm from Ray County, Tennessee, and so I listen most of the time.
We are growing better together all the time. Those are the words of Dr. Steve Ball of Metro Tabernacle Church in Chattanooga, Tennessee. One of the ways that they grow is with life groups. It's very important for you to get connected in a small group so you can develop relationships and hold each other accountable.
Hey there.
Dr. Ball says they believe that Metro Tab is growing larger and smaller at the same time. Life groups are an important part in developing relationships with others who share your interests and are dealing with similar life issues.
It's not
Why
very
don't you get
long.
connected? Check out
just,
life
know,
groups
him,
and the many other offerings at Metro Tabernacle Church in Chattanooga, Tennessee.
to Trump, the
They want to be
Virginia
involved in your
delegates, and
life.
it
The
just
address
kinda,
is 2101
I don't know, he just did a
West
good job.
Shepherd
Everybody
Road,
was real proud of him.
just
So
off
if
Highway
you want to play it,
153
if you
at
don't have
the
time,
airport
that's
exit.
fine.
Have you ever walked by a gravesite and wondered about the person buried there?
Okay.
What is their story? What did they look like? Were they loved?
Yeah.
At myforevermemories.com, based in Chattanooga, we want to
That
help
sounds
keep
good.
the memories alive. We thought of something called a memories box. It's a 6x7 by 2 inch transparent container that you put on a gravesite. And in that, you can put cards, pictures, handwritten notes, notes to the departed loved one. It's all about keeping the memories alive. So many good people have gone before us, and we need to keep their memories alive. My Forever Memories supports WVMG Radio, Destiny Life Media, and the Macil Duncan Radio Show. Let us not forget those who have gone before us, those who have spoken into our lives, those who have mentored us, those who have loved us, and those who have spoken great words when we needed to hear them. Well, the words aren't being spoken now, but they were in the past, and they have made an impression on our lives. We should remember those who have gone before us. That is one of the founding principles of myforevermemories.com. Website, myforevermemories.com. Join us in remembering those, and we have ways to do that. We support WVMG Radio, Destiny Life Radio, and the outreach of this radio station. And let us not forget those who have gone before us. There are so many ways to remember them. Join us in remembering them at myforevermemories.com.
On behalf of the great Commonwealth of Virginia, named last week by CNBC as America's top place to do business. Home to 850,000 of the greatest Americans, our military and veteran heroes. Home to Washington, Madison, Monroe, the first governor of the Commonwealth of Virginia, the voice of liberty, Patrick Henry, and home to Thomas Jefferson, who penned the most immortal words that we hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they're endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, and among them are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Proudly, as Governor of Virginia, along with our great chairman of the Republican Party of Virginia, Rich Anderson, we cast our delegate votes for the next president of the United States, Donald J. Trump, and his vice president, J.D. Vance.
Now that, my friend, was the governor of Virginia, and as he did that, that was sent to me by Jolene Carter, my regular call-in from Virginia. Jolene, that was awesome. I appreciate you sending that to me.
Well, you're welcome. I thought it was awesome, too, and so did a lot of Virginians.
I didn't realize all those folks. It was great history lesson, all the people that came from Virginia.
I know. Isn't that incredible?
I knew George Washington, but I forgot Madison, some of the others. That is incredible. And CNN just gave a report today that Trump is up in Virginia. Are you hearing that as well?
He's 3 points up in Virginia.
Wow. So what's the feeling right now? Because you're in Democratic country there.
Yeah.
What's it like? Because lip-lock liberals have got to be in panic mode.
Oh, they are definitely in panic mode. Definitely. And everybody's really fired up. I think the convention is just so good. The speeches and just the positivity, the patriotism has really got people just feeling really good and hopeful. I don't know if you've noticed Trump. He seems very, after what happened, he seems very subdued a little bit. Like, I think he realizes that God is using him. God has a purpose for him.
You know, I've noticed in several of the news reporting, they're using the term providential about that he could have been dead, but they have all been given a lot of credit to God, and that because you've probably seen all the slow motions of the bullet and the movement of his head, because if he hadn't moved his head, he'd be dead.
I just can't even believe it. I've seen several different videos showing just how close. I mean, it's just nothing but providential. I mean, if you're not a believer after that, I don't know what it would take. But I've heard so many people talking about it on the news who would normally not talk about that kind of stuff.
Well, I've got to ask you, do you think this kid, the shooter, acted alone, or do you think he had some help?
Oh, I think he had some help. Absolutely. There's no way, this 20-year-old tiny little guy, is going to get in there with all this kind of stuff, the gun and all these other things that he had on him. Some say he brought the ladder, 10 to 12-foot ladder. I mean, there's so many mixed, stories and things, but just boiling it all down, he had some help. I think he was a patsy. I think he was a victim of MK Ultra, and I think somebody else took the shot.
Well, I think it's Fox News and News Nation both reported that he bought a ladder the day before. A 12-foot ladder, a collapsible ladder. And the other thing I thought was interesting is he was spotted 3 times.
He was. They had his eye on him for 30 minutes.
And they called into the Secret Service, and that's where I think the Secret Service has got to. They try to throw the local police under the bus and act like that was their responsibility. And then Dan Bongino, the former Secret Service, he's calling for the firing of this lady. And I know they're going to try not to fire her, but how does she not be fired?
Good question, because I believe she followed through with what their plans are. But here's a little bit of history about her. She evacuated Dick Cheney during the 9/11. She was a good friend, or is a good friend, of Jill Biden's, and she was made director in 2022. She's the same person who lost the deleted texts from the January 6th. She also couldn't seem to find out who brought the bag of cocaine to the White House. Couldn't discover who left the pipe bomb outside the DNC headquarters. And now this. I think she should have been gone a long time ago.
Well, I think she's possibly going to face some music, because I believe they wanted to take Trump out because Biden is flailing and failing so bad.
Yeah.
Even Adam Schiff, he is now the LA Times, USA Today, Axios, all these articles. Adam Schiff becomes the latest Democrat to call for Biden to drop out of the race.
Yeah.
And he's the biggest name. That means Adam Schiff is a trend follower. He's not a very bold person. He's probably been told, hey, you say it, then we're going to get behind you. I would say by the end of the week you'll hear from Pelosi,
I believe it.
all the others, and plus he's running for senator in California.
I know.
And so he's probably looking for sound bites. But for a guy, think about this: he's running for senator in Lip Lock, Liberal, California, and he feels it's to his best interest to go against the current Democratic president and call for him to step down. He's running for he's in Congress. He's running for his first time to run in Senate against baseball great Garvey. And I think for him, that to me tells you, I think, too, that Adam Schiff's in panic mode, because he also made this statement that those of us, there's down ballot elections that we must be concerned with. I think he's saying me.
Yeah, of course.
If there's a red wave and Donald Trump blows out, he's going to. Adam Schiff will be out of Washington. Would that not be
Wouldn't that be something? He would be one of the first ones I'd kick out. Can't stand that guy.
I would love to see it.
I know.
So who's been your favorite speaker so far at the convention? Do you have one that sticks out?
Well, I love Sarah Huckabee Sanders. Her speech was so good. I mean, they were all so good. I can't really say a favorite. I mean, the mother.
Oh.
They lost her son to fentanyl. I mean, just everyone was in tears.
I played it here a minute ago, and I got up and left to go get me a tissue because I've heard it too many times.
Oh, I know.
Heartbreaking
It's
as a parent.
Really heartbreaking. Oh, she did. And then the mother of the son who, was in Afghanistan, survived all that, and then, comes back here and he's killed by these thugs on the streets who Alvin Bragg let out. So I mean, she was really good.
Well, I gotta be honest with you. Still, my favorite is Amber Rose. Amber Rose.
Amber Rose. Mm-hmm.
I mean, for her to be a former Trump hater and have a father that served in the military, and he challenged her, do your own research.
Right.
So she came to Trump rallies. She did her own research. And for her to do a 180 and go from hating Trump to campaigning for Trump. And
that's pretty incredible.
Well, she's got 24 million followers on Instagram alone. I think on X she's got 4 million.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
honestly, I've never heard of her before. The only thing I know about her is she used to date Kanye West, but other than that, I'm not sure who she is.
Well, I'll tell you, I was disappointed. Matt Walsh called her a slut and a whore, saying that she called herself that. And I'm sorry to use those languages on the air, but I'm just saying, Matt Walsh, I appreciate he's a strong conservative. He can't believe that we stooped to and used a person that used that language. But that was fashionable. Her and Kim Kardashian and all them. I think the movement back you remember this probably 15, 20 years ago when the Kardashians started their stuff, doing sex tapes and proclaiming your body, no matter if you were a thin or big person. That was, so all these kids start doing all these self pictures, and what is it called? Snapchat? You could send
Snapchat, yeah, you can Snapchat, and then they become influencers, kind of, people follow them.
Yeah, and it's just sad, and I think she was into that movement. My point is, she has been to the abyss of the left, and this is what I'd love to tell Matt Walsh, but think about it, man, we've pulled her out of that back over to sanity, and I'm sure her father, who is a veteran and loves Trump, I guarantee his heart was breaking watching what she was doing and posting. Yeah. Can you imagine how proud he was to hear her say what she said?
Oh, you know it. You know it. And just, like you said, she has so many followers, and she did such a good job. And I think it's brilliant that the people that they brought in there to speak, that they, the speech, they've all just been so good, but I'm just a big fan of Sarah Huckabee Sanders. So, I mean, she had, her speech had me teary-eyed. I mean, she just, and watching Trump's face, I mean, his smile when she was saying these things was just so touching. I don't know. I just love it.
Well, when we come back, we've got to go to a break. I'd like to hear your take on J.D. Vance, the vice president, okay?
Okay.
Hang on, Jolene. Don't go anywhere. And our listeners, stay tuned for this 3-minute break.
Hi, my name is Beverly Reynolds. I'm from Chattanooga, Tennessee. And I just wanted to let you know that I feel it's important to have the Macil Duncan radio show. I listen to him and support him completely because he tells the truth that we don't hear on mainstream media concerning local, state, national, world happenings. He talks about our nation that was formed as one nation under God with the inclusion of individuals' God-given rights. He speaks about God, our creator. He talks about our Constitution that guarantees those rights, and the people need to get involved in their freedom, liberty, and regaining and retaining and protecting their constitutional rights. So I believe everyone should hear his show. They should get involved, whether it's physical, it's prayer, whatever. They need to get involved and pay attention to what's going on, and he's putting that word out there. He's a true Christian patriot, and I wish all Americans could hear his show. Thank you. Phone number is.
It is time for the Church of Jesus Christ to roar. That is one of the core principles of Metro Tabernacle Church in Chattanooga, Tennessee. Their mission is to restore the roar in the body of Christ by establishing a foundation of faith in the Word of God through the power and demonstration of His Holy Spirit. They will reclaim the original intent of God for the church through training, equipping, releasing believers, and raising up leaders who will carry the roar of the Lion of the tribe of Judah to build strong local churches. And we all need that. You can find out more information by going to their website, myroar.org. Metro Tabernacle Church is located at 2101 West Shepherd Road, at the airport exit off of Highway 153 in Chattanooga. Let's roar. It is time for Christians to roar, to make a difference in the community. That is the belief of Metro Tabernacle Church and Dr. Steve Ball. They have the School of Roar. The School of Roar is hosting a summer 2024 The Prophetic. Classes open to everyone and registration is free. Do you want to learn how to work more in the prophetic? Attend one of the class schedules. Registration deadline June 2nd. There will be a class Tuesday, June 18th at 6:30 p.m. and one again July 16th at 6:30 p.m. You can register at the website metrotab.net or myroar.org. That is myroar.org. It is time for the church to roar. 917society.com, led by Joni Bryan from Nashville, funds the National Education Order 108447 in 1959 that declared Constitution Day in public schools, and that's something we sorely need. More than 1 million kids last year got a free copy of the Constitution, and this year's goal is 2 million kids. Imagine that. The Constitution in the hands of 2 million American kids. On September 17th, all public schools are to distribute and educate students on the Constitution of the United States. If you'd like to help out, 917, that's 917society.com, led by Joni Bryan of Nashville, Tennessee. And remember, the goal this year, 2 million copies of the Constitution in kids' hands. And you can help. Again, the website, 917society.com.
My husband JD grew up in Middletown, and things weren't easy. His mom struggled with addiction, and his dad wasn't there. But JD was lucky. He was raised by his loving grandmother, and he served his country as a Marine in Iraq.
Well, I've got my good friend Jolene Carter from Virginia. Jolene, what's your thinking on J.D. Vance, the vice president nominee of Donald Trump?
That it might be him, and I think he's a good choice.
Well, you know what I was thinking prior to the assassination attempt? I thought he might have been leaning towards Rubio or Tim Scott because they would maybe bring to the table some appeal to minority status, because he's got to move the middle, because he's got his solid MAGA supporters, but after the assassination attempt, I think, and I'm just guessing, I think what moved him towards J.D. Vance was J.D. Vance can help him with the middle of the country, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, Michigan, Ohio, etc.
Right.
And have you read his book or seen the movie about him?
I have not, but I've been hearing about it, and I want to watch this movie. But everyone says this is this incredible, story. So I can't wait to read it or watch. I guess it's a movie as well.
Well, I think Glenn Close plays his mother. Netflix, I was looking today at a thing. It's up over 1,000% since he's been, just in the last few hours since he's been nominated.
Wow.
Over 1,000%. So tons of folks are going to Netflix to watch it. They'll probably now start charging because that's how they do. But J.D. Vance, he's 39.
Yeah.
But he used to hate Donald Trump. He used to talk bad about him,
Yeah,
called
he
him
did.
Hitler and all those things. Do
Yeah.
you also think he, like Amber Rose, two people that used to talk bad about Trump, they're young. Do you think there's a strategy to use those folks to say, hey, I used to hate him too, but give him a chance? Do you sense that's part of the strategy?
Well, certainly. I think that's, a good point. I never really thought of it from that angle, but it's certainly, I think it's a good idea.
Do you know anyone that hated Trump that now likes Trump or said they're voting for Trump but they used to hate him? Do you know anyone personally?
Do I know anyone personally?
Yeah, that said, that used to talk bad about Trump but now has been softened and said they like him or they're going to vote for him now?
I have a couple of friends that I wasn't really sure where they stood. It seemed like they didn't really care for Trump, but they didn't really want to come out and say it in front of me. You know what I'm saying? It was kind of like one of those unspoken kind of things. And I've seen a couple of them kind of come around, just not by anything I've said, I don't believe. I don't know, but just by, I think observing what all they've done to him, and so, I do have a couple of friends that I think, we're not too fond that have, maybe done some research or just kind of, witnessed what's really going on. I mean, this guy is, why are they attacking this guy so much? There's got to be some reason for that,
Well, I think it's interesting how Amber Rose said basically she calls it all media lies and all this stuff. So now I say that to ask you this. Have you heard of Blue Anon?
Blue Anon?
Uh-huh.
Is that like part of QAnon? Is that like a...
Well, you're close. Blue Anon, you can go to the Gateway Pundit. They've got an article on it. And Tim Pool of Timcast, he talked about this about 3 days ago. And here's the interesting thing. I know it was 2 days ago. Blue Anon is the extreme left. It is progressives, extreme left. Because the Democrats are Blue Party.
Okay.
And with you being in Virginia, you probably have some Blue Anon people. They have their own conspiracy theories. And then you have QAnon, who's the far right. The Patriots, who they're now calling the white nationalists, all that, right?
That's right, yeah.
So you have the Blue Anon, the liberals, QAnon, the conservatives. They have now agreed on something for the first time. They both are saying that Donald Trump faked the assassination attempt. What do you think of that?
Yeah, I mean, that would be kind of a hard thing to fake. I don't know.
But no, I'm thinking the strategy. Is it possible the MK Ultra, the CIA, the mind control people, do you think there's a possibility that they have captured a big part of the country with QAnon? And then, because just look at the race wars, how they bait race wars. They get folks on sex wars, talking about, you versus us. Is there a possibility what they've done, and they're bringing them together at such a time as this to maybe incite a civil war between the blue left and the QAnon far right?
Yeah, it's possible. I'm on a thread with a couple of former military guys. And so, they talk back and forth. I don't usually say anything, but I read, some of the stuff they say, and I'm telling you, these guys are like ready. You know what I mean? They're ready to get involved.
I think they're ready on both sides. I mean, there was a guy busted today in Milwaukee trying to sneak a gun into the GOP convention. A 20-some-year-old young man was arrested this morning.
Yeah.
So I think you've got militants on both sides, ready to do drastic things, and you got to just wonder because the Rockefellers, a lot of these elite families were known, as you do the research, they funded both sides of the war. You know,
I know.
World War One
Yeah,
and
they
World War
certainly
Two,
did.
and some other conflicts. It's because when they keep us fighting amongst ourselves, we
Yeah.
don't pay attention to what they're doing.
That's exactly right.
Anyway.
You know, the good thing about Q, though, is that, I mean, for me personally, it made me do a whole lot of research.
Yes, it did.
So if anything good came out of that, that was it. You know.
I used to watch. I did the 8chan and the 4chan boards.
Yeah.
If Charlie Ward was speaking, I was tuning Simon, the Street Fighter dude, Nino the boxer, all those guys, and even the cowboy kid. What's his name? It was in the Army that gives out all the military protocol.
Oh, yeah, I can't think of his name, but I know. I've listened to all of them.
He follows me now, and I hope I'm not offending him. I'm not trying to. And I believe even Rita Chapman, she's got a big following. She's a big, I think she leans Q. There's a lot of folks, and because some of the stuff has come true.
Right.
Some of the stuff.
Some of the stuff has.
Yeah, I mean the tippity top and the speech, and then you know what happened, the watch, the pin, and some of the other things. But I think the thing that got a lot of folks was when Trump went out of office, the QAnon posts stopped. And then a few of them kicked back in, and they've stopped again.
Right.
But here's two things. I wonder what Q people are thinking. They were convinced that JFK Jr. was not truly dead. He was going to be the VP.
Oh, yeah.
And now that J.D. Vance has been announced and Kennedy was not, I wonder if that burned anyone's biscuits.
Yeah. I know a few people that are very, very Q people.
Oh, I got some in my faith family, and I've got some in my personal family, and I've got listeners on my show. And I was actually running around today with one today. He and his wife are very, very Q leaning people.
Right.
I don't think it makes them crazy or bad people. It's just it's just like I'm a Tennessee fan. And, people may think I'm crazy, but then there's Alabama fans who I think, bless their heart, I pray for Alabama fans all the time. But, and then, of course, the LSU fans, bless their hearts. Oh, my gosh. But
your friends are probably like mine, that they're so, they believe in it so much. And then when it didn't come true that John F. K. Jr. wasn't the VP, then there's another reason for that. You know what I mean? It's like,
oh yeah,
well, this was done because of this. It's
this is the word I hear from one of them. It's called ops. It's ops. So we got to keep them off. And I'm going. That's their excuse for lying to you, my friend.
Yeah.
But here's the deal. Come November 5th, after the election, okay. And here's the other thing about Q. They believe in devolution, that Donald Trump's still the president.
Right.
And all this time he's been the president, and there's been secret military tribunals, and people have been executed, doppelgangers, all that. And when something happens that looks like it's leaning that way, they get real excited. Like now the media is turning on Joe Biden. They're saying because the white hats have control of the media, etc. I can see why they believe some of this because, with a little nudge and a push, you can get folks to see things. I'm just trying to give folks I think outside the box. I don't think like everybody else, I guess. I'm thinking, this is me, could the CIA be manipulating two different groups of people to eventually clash? The Blue Anons versus the QAnons.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the Q people, it really brought a lot of people together, and there was hope for the first time in a long time with a lot of people. And
well, when COVID shut the country down, everybody was getting bored. So what did they do? They watched all those QAnon pundits. You remember that? So you're sitting there home. You got hours to kill because they had us all convinced that we went outside, we're going to die. So everyone's watching this. Again, though, if we believe that it was a plandemic and not a pandemic,
right?
Savvy, could part of the plan had been knowing they're going to stay at home, that folks would watch some of these things.
Yeah.
Now, for instance, Charlie Ward. Have you ever noticed, if you watch Charlie Ward, he'll have a guest on, and he'll have, Jolene, tell me what you've learned. And Jolene says, hey, my secret friend from Aspire tells all these super duper tricks, and all of a sudden, and then watch Charlie, he goes, that's exactly what my secret source says.
Yeah.
He never starts out. He always has his guests go first. See, I watch those things, and that's what made me say, wait a minute, Charlie's always also selling gold at the end of his thing.
Yes, he is.
Is he just a side hustle?
Yeah. I mean, I remember when I first heard of him, and I kind of was listening to him, and I was kind of excited. I'm like, wow, this guy seems like the real deal, you know. But after a while,
the one I like the most is Nino. I think Nino is the most honest, because sometimes he doesn't bite, and he'll say, that's bull. And of course, he uses language I can't use. That's what I like about Nino. He doesn't just buy everything that's said. And then Simon believes in all these ET and extraterrestrials, and
I know.
He's way too out there for me. And but then you have the guy, and we know, the super Christian guy.
Yeah.
And then you have X22 report Dave.
Right.
Those two guys are very strong Christians, but even they don't agree. See,
but you know what's weird about X22? He has had Eric Trump several times as a guest on his show, and I don't think Eric Trump would go on his show.
Yeah,
I'm like,
I know.
Wow.
That's what I think. See, X22 and Nino, to me, are balanced. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And even and the guy on, and as we know, his name escapes me. Strong Christian guy. He gives good biblical advice, but he buys into all that Q stuff to be a little bit too strong.
Too much.
But anyway, well, moving on. People are going to have their views, and they're welcome to them. This is America, and we shouldn't be unkind to people that disagree with us. But what do you think about the Homeland Security Inspector General? He's investigating the Secret Service over Trump rally shooting. Did you hear about that?
Yeah, I did. And I'm hearing different things that they're telling this woman, the Secret Service director, keep her mouth shut.
She's not done a presser where she takes questions. She's doing very selective little interviews. Have you noticed?
I know, and that's the thing. Everybody's like, there has not been one press conference, about any of this. It's very, very strange. We deserve to know. And I think it's because they're trying to get their story straight. There's been a whole lot of lies, and they don't know they're not ready to get up and say, they're not going to tell us what really happened, because it was, whatever it was a hot mess.
Well, here's the timeline. At 3 o'clock, the assassin under suspicion when rangefinders set off metal detector, because he was using one of those rangefinders like golfers and hunters use.
Right.
3:45, counter sniper spots assassin on roof, radios it in. Okay? 6:02 to 6:04, they still allow Trump to take the stage.
Right.
Okay, that's like 3 hours later, and then 6:11. After enjoying 7 minutes to set up his shot, assassin brandishes rifle at cop. Seconds later, the assassin gets off 8 shots at Trump before he's shot.
I just can't even believe that.
How in the world did he get 8 shots off?
How did he even know that he could go up on that roof? Anybody with a brain would think that there would be SWAT team or Secret Service up on that building for sure, but he somehow knew to go there.
Well, there's been so much of stuff said, but they're doing all these investigations. FBI's leading, which doesn't give me any hope. But Fox News just dropped this. Neighbor says Trump shooter's family had no political signs in yard as parent affiliations surface. The Trump shooter, Thomas Matthew Crooks, was rarely seen in Pennsylvania neighborhoods, says neighbors. 2 neighbors of would-be Trump assassin, the Crooks, dismissed the attention drawn to his political affiliation, saying the family appeared to never have campaign signs, of any stripe. They're trying to say he's Republican, and but he was a
but he donated to Biden.
He donated to Biden and to something blue.
Act Blue.
Act Blue, and he's also a member of Antifa.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, so the kid was a little bit, and he was also in the Black Rock video. You remember that?
Yeah, that's weird.
So,
I think he was an MK Ultra kid, just controlled. Yeah, I think a lot of these school shooters, I mean, they all have that same glazed look over their eyes, just something. But let me ask you this. Did you find it strange that the MSM was present at the rally for the first time? They don't cover those rallies. Maybe RSBN Network, but all of a sudden the media is present and filming the rally. It's like they knew. And some people did know because, like, one day before, Trump's stock, I don't know if you've heard this, took a major plummet because they thought he was going to be dead. Shorted, yeah. I don't really understand, but the short stock thing. So a lot of things like that. A lot of people, just like 9/11, a lot of things happened before because they thought he was going to be dead.
Well, funny that I didn't hear about that, but I did hear after he survived it that stock prices surged with economists that thought that were backing Trump. So I didn't catch that part that it was going down because they thought he was going to die because, 9/11, the fact is the Bush's family had a business ties there, and all their affiliates were told not to be at work that day. And that's been
proven.
And then
that one gentleman that took out the insurance policy on the Twin Towers.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah. So stuff like that, and Victoria Nuland, two days before the attempt, she got on. She was being interviewed or talking to somebody, I don't know, but she said Trump will not be president. I mean, it's just weird stuff. But
yeah, they were very outspoken. And let me ask you this. You're a mother. Dr. Ben Braddock put this out. Just 2 months ago, D.C. Judge Colleen Cottley, anyway, she sentenced Paulette Harlow, who is 75 years old and in poor health, to 2 years in prison for praying outside of an abortion clinic. Okay.
I know.
And so the husband begged for mercy for fear she would die in prison due to poor health. And this Democrat-leaning judge said this: maybe you should make an effort to remain alive because that is a trend of your religion.
Oh my goodness.
I mean, she's got ice water in the veins. That judge.
How in the world could you do something like that?
Yeah.
I mean, you really. But, I read today that Garland is dropping the Enron statute charges against the January 6th defendants. So government prosecutors are informing the defense and the judge overseeing the defendants' cases that it will drop charges brought under federal law. So I don't know, if maybe some things the ball can get rolling on and letting these people out.
Well, here's the deal. It took a freaking long time.
Yeah.
And here's what I think. I think the Supreme Court and some of the others, so there's some jackwagons up there, they were muddling through and see if Donald Trump was going to survive all this because they didn't want to make an action to free January 6 prisoners, the Chevron decision, the immunity decision, unless they knew Donald Trump was going to most likely have a chance to win the election. Because if they thought Biden was going to get in, they didn't want to make an enemy and deal 4 more years with that Justice Department. That's my opinion.
Right, and Biden is already trying to, get set term limits on the Supreme Court. So he just made I played Straight Arrow News. He just now made a deal with the devil. He's promised progressives that if he's reelected, meaning give me some more money, I will expand the court, the Supreme Court, like they want, and stack it with, left-leaning people. Exactly. That's what they'll do.
And that's where I think folks have got to say this, because I think, again, going back to J.D. Vance, I think he scares them to death that people can see a young future. Now, do you remember Dan Quayle, the vice president of the first Bush?
I do. Yeah.
And do you remember, he was brilliant, and they painted
Yes.
him as an idiot because he misspelled potato.
I know, and it just went viral.
Do you know, though, in his book, and I've got it here in my library, I've read it, he was asked to be at this classroom appearance, and he said the media, he goes, it was huge turnout of media. And he thought, I'm the vice president, why in the world are they here? Well, then they said, listen, we're going to have flashcards in the back. Will you just put those, spell them on the board? And he said when they held up the potato, he knew it was misspelled in his gut check. But he said, in the rush, he said, I better spell it the way it is. I must be wrong. And that's what they ran with that and tried to make him sound like he was an idiot.
Yes.
Because I think they were afraid of Dan Quayle, because he would have been, I think, been a great president. Okay, fast forward to today. You know, J.D. Vance, I think, is scaring the Democrats and the rhinos to death, because if he gets 4 years of Trump tutelage and learns how to be, because he's a Marine, if he learns from Trump, too, how to fight back, this guy could go, 4, if not 8 years and follow Trump.
Yes, he certainly could. And he's an excellent debater. And, he was there during Trump's trials. He was there supporting Trump. So that tells me he's loyal.
Yeah, and I think that's what shocked people, because he was once the Trump basher, even called him Hitler back in 2016.
Mm-hmm.
But he said, I was wrong after I saw him govern. He goes, I was shocked at how he goes, he's the best president of my lifetime.
Right. I guess he didn't think Trump was going to be able to fulfill the promises that he made. And so then Trump proved him wrong. And so it turned him around. And I believe he has the same vision as Trump. In a lot of this, with foreign policy and all these sorts of things. I mean, clearly, or Trump wouldn't have chosen him. But I think, I think they'll make a good team.
Here's the thing you got to wonder, too. He picked a young guy. I wonder if he talked with his son, because the only other Trump I think that could win an election is Eric. Donald Jr., I just think, he's not as likable, okay, as his dad. He's more the comic of the family. Ivanka, people, but then her husband, Jared Kushner, he's too much of a liability. So Laura Trump being the co-chair of, I think he probably even thought, hey, does my son Eric, not that he can be his VP, but now picking J.D. Vance, he's pretty much bumped his son Eric to the side, because J.D. Vance will probably be the leader of the Republican Party and for the next after Trump.
Yeah.
And
right.
Now Trump will still wield a lot of power for endorsements. They'd be foolish to cut ties with the Trumps. But that just tells me I don't think any of the Trump children have an aspiration. Now maybe Barron down the road, I think he wouldn't be eligible until 2042 or something, 2044, whatever. So it's good. I think of those things. No one else does. I don't know why I do.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Well, no, I mean it's a very good point. And this is interesting that so J.D. Vance's wife is really good friends with Vivek Ramaswamy.
Yeah, they're both from India.
They named their son Vivek.
Oh, that's right.
Because they were such good friends.
You know what I think would be interesting is if they win, Trump and Vance win, if they put Vivek in his Senate seat to finish out his term.
Yes, he's talking about that. I saw that earlier. He was asked about maybe running for that seat, running for Senate, and he might do it. But I don't know. I think he would be great in Trump's cabinet too. I think he'd be a good press secretary.
Oh, but I don't think he would accept that. He's, press secretaries tend to be low on the pay scale, and newbies into he likes to talk. He would definitely be a boss, I just can't see him. I think
he would not put up with them.
I think if he was a senator or a congressman though, and could get some click, he likes the camera. Now, Vivek, this is a very important thing. A lot of GOP need to go back and remember. During the debates, when he called out Rona Daniels, and invited her to come up and resign, he would give her his time. He put a spotlight on Rona McDaniel and how since she took over the GOP, we lost all the elections, 2018 midterms, 2020, 2022 midterms, and that she was a dismal failure. And many wonder, did she sandbag the GOP because Mitt Romney, of course, is her uncle, and what do they hate Trump that much that they would throw their own party underneath the bus?
Yeah. Well, Mitt Romney came out and said that he did not care for J.D. Vance, so that tells me.
Oh, that makes me like him more.
Makes him like him more. Yeah.
The only thing would upset me if Mitt Romney came out and sang Rocky Top, I would probably cry. I'd say, "Oh, please don't do that." Because, anything Mitt touches or likes, I am opposed to, because I believe Mitt Romney is very much a deceiving. I think he's a very dishonest person. I think it's coming out more now. But
yeah, he's up there with like Paul Ryan and all these. They weren't invited to the RNC. Now, this is what I heard too, that Nikki Haley was not invited to speak at the RNC. But she was asked to come like 2 days, or actually I think I heard the same day, like 2 hours before the assassination attempt. Now, I don't know. I'm trying to find more sources on that. But when she got up and said, I've been asked to speak, at the convention, Trump looks to Vance and he says, you can read his lips. He says, she wanted to speak. Like, he's saying she's lying. I didn't ask her to come speak. She wanted to speak. So I don't know if you've seen that video clip.
No, but I'll tell you this. I believe one reason they wanted to take out Trump is because she then would have a few delegates, and if he's passed away, then his delegates would be free to coalesce around her, and with a little media nudge and shoving, she would have been the nominee.
She would have been.
I believe,
and the Democrats would have been perfectly fine with her because she's basically a Democrat.
I think they would have helped her win. Exactly. I think she's a rhino. I personally wish he hadn't let her speak. But Trump always bends over backwards to try to build bridges.
He does.
And I'm going, dude, they don't like you.
I don't trust him. Don't trust him. And I hope he doesn't put her anywhere in his cabinet. She needs to be far away from him as possible.
Yeah, if he puts her... Now, the only thing he might put her over is Secretary of Poo. Her job is to check all the poo and all the commodes. That's it. She can be Secretary of Poo. That's it. But she is not...
but I just think it's awfully strange, like she was not invited, but then all of a sudden, it's like... And then the timing of this attempt, right before the convention, it would have given... The Republicans, no time to come up with someone except for Nikki Haley.
Well, I think a lot of this, as you look back, see, the timing of the shooting, the place, and his detail being switched out and having all those short ladies put on his detail.
Yeah.
I mean, but one thing that's funny, we would not have the iconic picture if he had his normal 6 foot plus guys. That 5 foot blonde girl that was doing her best gave Trump the ability.
Ridiculous. He needs somebody taller than him. And I saw that picture, and I'm like, what is this? You can still see his entire head, and another shot could have gotten him.
Look at his Secret Service now at the Milwaukee. They're big boys.
Yeah.
Big, tall men. Because I think...
Well, that's the way it should be.
But I think the DEI got, in a way, I think they kind of got... it's a subliminal laugh in their face. You guys made the most iconic picture probably in the last decade of him with his fist in the air, a flag behind him.
No, isn't that incredible? And did you see the two flags that got mixed up together and it looked like an angel? Have you seen that?
No, I haven't seen that one.
I'll send you a picture. That will give you chills.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, I still think folks are talking the divine nature, how he turned his head just at the right moment. I think this is touching the hearts of a lot of people across the country.
I do too.
And
I do too. And I think it's changed Trump too. I just feel like he is different. I mean, he's still the same fighter and all that, but I think it just, I mean, of course it would change anybody if somebody tried to shoot you and kill you, but I'm just talking about a level, or maybe a spiritual level or something,
Well, let's shift another quick gears. We got 10 minutes, or 8 minutes. If Joe Biden steps down, okay, do you think they go with Kamala, or do they try to bring someone else in?
Well, I think if they try to replace Kamala, it will cause a lot of people to get really upset because she's a black female, and if they put some like white guy instead of her, that will cause a big racial divide. And so I'm thinking they're going to push Kamala as a female, black, all that they can do to reach those group, the women and the minorities.
What I don't understand, because I'm a strategy thinking person.
Yeah.
If I was a Democrat and I had the ear of the Democrat, I think they should have had Biden step out a year ago, make her the first female president, break that glass ceiling. She's a woman of color. Get her to sign some executive orders of some things that would impact the economy, and they could have made her in a year look a little bit stronger than she is.
Yeah, that's a good idea. They should have done that.
But now they can't do it.
Right, they messed up the same way with Ruth Bader Ginsburg. They kept her too long.
Well, she
and
wouldn't.
then by the time,
No, she refused to resign. She was a stubborn mule. It was her fault.
Yeah.
And,
well, yeah. I mean,
so was Dianne Feinstein. Dianne Feinstein. All those folks. Mitch McConnell, Pelosi. I think there should be an age limit. Say, listen, when you start wearing the pins and eating pudding on the Senate floor, you gotta go.
Well, I mean, it burned them because they did not get to nominate somebody to take her place because they waited too long, and so they lost the Supreme Court, position because of that.
Well, I think it's interesting.
They're just not very smart people.
Scalia is found dead with a pillow over his face on a hunting trip. She dies of natural causes, but I think they thought they were going to flip and replace her and replace him with a liberal, and it backfired.
It did.
Trump got to put 3 Supreme Courters in 4 years, and can you imagine if Donald Trump wins, he'll probably I bet you Clarence Thomas steps down. For the good of the country, and lets Trump replace him with a solid conservative to keep the conservative majority, and possibly Alito. I wish Roberts would step down. Roberts is such a flip-flopper.
And I'm hearing that the other lady, what's her name? Just draw a blank. She's not.
Samoria. I never have been able to say her name.
Yeah, I can't say her name, but you know who I'm talking about.
Yeah.
That she's unwell, that she has health problems.
Well,
so,
I tell you, it's going to be interesting to see how this all plays out. With the 5 minutes left, a word that scares a lot of us, Jolene, is a word called cancer. And your husband, Mike, is battling cancer, and he and I were talking again today. I'm hoping he'll call into the show, and we'll talk maybe in a week or two. But he's been given some bad news. Can you give us an update?
Yeah. I mean, so back in May, he had an ultrasound, and they found a pretty big mass on his kidney. Then they wanted to do a CT scan, which found some nodules in his lungs. So then they did another CT scan, then a PET scan to see if there was cancer anywhere else. And so basically, if you had cancer in your kidney and it spreads, it's called stage 4. So he has stage 4 cancer, and we were not prepared for that at all. So we have been going from doctor to scan to ultrasound, you know, just all these doctor appointments. We've decided to go to MD Anderson in Texas for a second opinion. The oncologist, we met with him on Monday, and he talked about doing immunotherapy, but the survival rate is not real good.
Well, if you do me
stage 4, so
if you do me a favor, I'm asking you to do this. Would you set up a GoFundMe page so we can get the listeners to help you and Mike? I know he works at the 700 Club, but people don't realize the financial, the emotional, as well as the spiritual battles you fight when you're going through something like this. And if you'd set up a GoFundMe page, I would like to help ask folks to help you guys out.
Oh, that's so sweet. So sweet.
And tell Mike he's in my prayers daily. Our church is at 30 days of prayer right now, and I pray for Mike every morning. But would you mind if I say a prayer for him right now?
Oh, that would be wonderful.
Is Mike listening?
Actually, he walked in the door not too long ago, and he's sitting right beside me.
Okay.
And he heard you say that, and he teared up. Well, he's been tearing up a lot lately.
That's what he told me. That's why he said if he came on, he might get emotional. So hey,
he would probably.
Those across the country, Mike Carter is in Virginia. He's battling cancer, stage 4. He works for the 700 Club. Good guy, and his wife's Jolene. Father God, I pray right now for Mike Carter. Lord, he loves you. He has got a great heart. He's in ministry. He's one of the behind-the-scene guys. He's not on the camera. He's the guy behind the camera making Gordon and all them look good. So, Lord, I pray for him. I know they've laid hands and prayed over him as well. God, provide for them financially, emotionally, and spiritually. And, Lord, I pray Mike will get good news and be a miracle. Because cancer is just another word to you, Lord. It scares us to death, but to you it's just another word. So give him strength in these coming days. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you so much. We are just blown away by the amount of people that are praying, that are calling and texting and commenting, and people that I haven't heard from in years. And I'm just it's so humbling. It really is.
Well,
we just feel so loved, and
several of your friends in Texas have called into the show or sent messages on the call-in hotline, and one of them put on there, "I'm friends with Jolene."
Oh, really?
And I'm sorry, I can't remember her name, but
it might have been my friend Christelle, maybe.
I'm trying to remember.
Yeah, it might have been her.
Well, we're gonna go to I got to go to a break, but give Mike a hug and tell him that we'll talk soon, okay?
Okay, all right. Thanks for having me on today.
Thanks, Jolene. God bless. That's Jolene Carter, a good friend. She calls in each and every Wednesday when she can. She's missed a few Wednesdays because, of course, if you can imagine, her husband having cancer, she's had to deal with that. We're going to go to a break, and we'll be back with Maria Wagner, Moms for America. From Illinois. As you know, she's moved here to Chattanooga, Tennessee, and she's got some good stuff to tell us what's going on with the mama bears across the country.
National Rifle Association and its top executives are back in court for Phase 2 of the civil corruption trial brought forward by New York Attorney General Letitia James. The judge will decide whether to appoint an independent monitor to oversee the gun rights group. During Phase 1, a jury found that 3 top executives misspent millions of dollars of the organization's money on lavish personal expenses, including trips to exotic locations and private jet rides. The jurors also determined that the organization omitted or misrepresented information in its tax filings and broke New York State whistleblower protection law. Former CEO Wayne LaPierre was ordered to pay $4.4 million back to the NRA, while the retired CFO Wilson Phillips was ordered to pay $2 million. During Phase 2, the judge will also decide whether LaPierre should face additional punishments beyond the monetary payments. William Brewer, an attorney for the NRA, told the AP, "The focal point for Phase 2 is the New York AG's burden to show that any violation of any law is continuing and is persistent at the NRA. This is a burden the New York AG cannot meet." Brewer said the NRA has since made a, quote, course correction, unquote, to ensure it complies with all laws. He called a court-appointed monitor unwarranted. This bench trial is expected to last about 2 weeks. Current President Bob Barr and CEO Douglas Hamlin are expected to testify. Attorney General James filed the lawsuit in 2020 and initially sought to have the organization dissolved, but the judge declined. LaPierre took over as head of the NRA in 1991. During Phase 1 of the trial, he admitted to inappropriately expensing private jet flights for his family and accepting vacations to the Bahamas, Greece, and Dubai from vendors doing business with the NRA. Straight Arrow News will keep you updated on the...
Despite all the demonisation and hatred in US politics, Joe Biden doesn't sound like he's going to pull back on his attacks against Donald Trump. Have a listen.
Just because we must lower the temperature in our politics is related to violence, it doesn't mean we should stop telling the truth. Who you are, what you've done, what you'll do, that's fair game.
Look, I reckon this is reckless, Liz, because what he's saying is really the victim of most of the hatred in Donald Trump should be the one to lower his temperature. The rest of us will keep attacking him.
100%. And what he's doing here is sticking with the Dems' narrative of, no, we have the upper ground.
Yeah, the high moral ground.
The morality of this. Yes, we're up on the high horse. We have the high moral ground. And it feeds into that very dangerous narrative of, well, whatever happens, is it really undeserved? And that is something that simply cannot continue along this trajectory. We've got months until the election. Heaven knows. I doubt very much this is going to be the first and only attempt to take Donald Trump's life.
I hate to speculate about stuff like that.
So the fact that the president, it's barely been, 3 days since that horrific incident, and Trump's life was spared by less than a millimetre, and yet he's not ramping it down at all.
It's incredible.
For years, many Americans have struggled to build up their emergency savings, and it's only gotten worse with inflation and high interest rates since the COVID-19 pandemic. Well, according to Bankrate, nearly 6 in 10 U.S. adults don't feel comfortable with their level of emergency savings, and 27% have no savings at all. But now the IRS is making it easier for Americans to get $1,000 when they need it in an emergency, which can be anything from unexpected medical expenses to car repairs to needing groceries. So here's a breakdown of how it all works. The Setting Every Community Up for Retirement Enhancement, or SECURE Act, has undergone changes since last year. Under the new law, those who need it can now take $1,000 out of a traditional retirement account without penalty. The money does not have to be paid back, but if it isn't, you'll have to pay income tax on that money. You can only make a withdrawal once a year, and you have 3 years from when you make that withdrawal to put the money back if you want to avoid taxes. You also can't let your balance fall below $1,000. So if you only have $1,500 in your retirement account, you can only borrow $500 from yourself. For Straight Arrow News, I'm Lauren Taylor. Download the Straight Arrow News app.
Well, I'm back, my friends. This is Macil Duncan, and welcome back to the Macil Duncan radio show here in Chattanooga, Tennessee. And I have Maria Wagner calling in, as she does every Wednesday. She's with Moms for America. And Maria, how you doing?
I'm doing pretty good, Macil. It feels like forever, but I'm glad to be back.
Well, you've been on the road. Your husband's health.
Yeah.
Y'all had to make a journey to a special procedure, and then, of course, Moms for America. You've been quite the busy lady.
Oh yeah, between the hubby and between Moms for America, yeah, and 2 different trips to Chicago.
Well, tell Mark. I hope he's doing better. Is he feeling any relief from the procedure?
You know, the second round, yes, he's gotten a lot more relief in the pinched nerve, and we're looking at doing some physical therapy now.
Okay, well, good. Well, tell us what's going on with Moms for America. You guys kind of got a big honor at the GOP convention. You want to tell us about it?
Oh my gosh, I am just so proud of our Vice President, Debbie Carlitis. She did such a beautiful, eloquent job leading the RNC in the Pledge of Allegiance. I told her that repeatedly. I even told her today how great of a job she did. We also had Vanessa, who is a Latina mom and executive director of our other organization, Moms for America Action. And she gave a really good speech on how moms are feeling right now in this economy and this culture. So both ladies did a fine job.
Well, that's awesome. I think a lot of folks are still learning about Moms for America. If somebody wanted to know more, I know you have a website. Is it just go to Moms for America?
Yes, Moms, plural, MOMS for FOR, America.net. And you can get plugged into a group. You can take advantage of all of our great resources, our free webinars and classes. We're just anxious to help all the mama bears.
And so you guys got a new tour coming up. Is it with Tucker Carlson?
Yeah, I just found out which tour stops I'm going to be going on. Yeah, we're pretty excited and just over the moon. Again, if you wanted to get tickets, you can go to our website. We are a proud sponsor, and it'll start September 4th, and it has 16 stops. And if anyone wants to get VIP tickets, the only place you can get them is through Moms for America.
And now, Tucker Carlson, what kind of brought you guys together?
Well, you know, I don't know how it started, but I do know that our president just wanted to present him with the Champion of Freedom Award because we all know such an incredible job he does to he's so strongly rooted in the truth and brings the truth to the conservative base. So we had like an awards event for him a few months ago, and it was just the time spent with Kimberly, our president, and Debbie, our vice president, and they got to spend a good half hour before the event started, and they really bonded, and he really got to know about our organization.
And I tell you what, he's made a lot of rounds. I saw him there at the convention, and Donald Trump Jr. and it looked like Marjorie Taylor Greene. There was like a little hug fest of a bunch of the conservative folks. Did you see that?
I didn't see that, but I'm really jealous because my vice president said their seating is right behind those guys.
Well, I tell you, it was a great convention so far. What stuck out to you the most? Is there a speaker that you just said, wow, that amazed me?
Well, you know, I haven't watched a whole lot, and I can't remember the first gentleman that kicked it off. I just see all the high energy. And I told my vice president today, I said, my gosh, I can't imagine what you feel like, not only being there, but especially in the light of what happened to President Trump. And she's like, oh my gosh, I just don't know if she has words to describe it.
Well, I loved the Amber Rose. I'm going to tell you, that was probably my most famous speaker yet. The model that has the 24 million followers. She only spoke for 5 minutes, But then to watch CNN and the liberals melt after she admitted, I'm a former lefty and I'm supporting Donald Trump because I did my own research. That was gold.
Wow.
Don't you think?
And you know what, Macil? I know that you've probably seen yourself all the different infighting with, oh my gosh, why did they allow her to speak? But, you know, you also have to think, well, she had critical thinking, she did her own research, and if she's got a platform of 24 million, I mean, holy cow, do the numbers, right? I mean, maybe she can make that impression on her base to say, hey, do some research, do your own critical thinking. Wouldn't that be wonderful?
Well, that's what the I think was great, because Van Jones on CNN. Do you know who Van Jones is?
Probably if I saw his picture.
He's a man of color. He's my favorite one on CNN because I think he's very honest. We don't line up much, but he's actually come and spoke at a few conservative events because he's not confrontational. Wow. He's approachable.
Okay.
But he said after that speech of her, he goes, wow. He goes, that is a game changer among the Democrat Party, etc. And I thought that was great. And then the other speech that touched my heart was the lady about her son dying of the fentanyl overdose.
Oh, wow.
I played it, or I just had to walk away a minute ago when I played it here on the thing because it makes me tear up.
Wow. I'll have to go back and watch that.
That one, it's the Blaze Media has an article here. And let me just read a couple of things. She had a 15-year-old son who died of fentanyl, and her name is Ann Funder, and her son died a tragic death. This mother of, I think she's got 3 kids, and he was the oldest. She said, we raised him we went to church. He was in church twice a week in Southern California, etc. But here's her quote. Like most teenagers, Weston wanted to fit in. And in a moment of peer pressure, he tried something that someone gave him, and it took my baby's life. We did everything right. I had those conversations with him, and fentanyl still found my son. This was not an overdose. This was poisoning. And then she says this, and I think you're going to agree. I hold Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, the border czar, what a joke, and Gavin Newsom and every Democrat who supports open borders responsible for the death of my son.
Amen.
And then she started bawling. The whole room was crying. If you watch it, have some Kleenex. It's very emotional, very much from the heart. But I believe her and Amber Rose, and then the mayor from Dallas spoke. And
interesting.
A man of color. In his first 41 seconds, he talked about how the progressives got on his lawn and were demanding he disband the police, all this stuff, and he said no. And
wow,
it's powerful. So there's a lot to gain at the GOP convention. But tell me your thoughts on his VP pick, Mr. Vance. Do you have any thoughts?
You know, he's probably one of the VP picks I know the least of, to be honest. And of course, right before, he got picked or he got announced, you see some rumblings on social media digging up stuff he might have said about Trump years ago.
Well, in 2016, when Trump was running, he called Trump Hitler and was because he was running for office. I think he thought Trump was going to cost him because he was in Ohio and it surprisingly Trump carried Ohio both elections. But Ohio used to decide the elections. That hasn't been the case here past couple of rounds. But anyway, he was just being politically correct maybe. But did you know they named one of their children after Vivek? Vivek's one of their closest friends.
Yeah, I think my mom had told me that. I was kind of surprised. I didn't know that he had named one of his children Vivek.
Well, they're even saying that Vivek may take his Senate if he wins with Trump. Would you like to see Vivek be the senator from Ohio?
Well, sure, why not? I mean, he's every time he talks, he brings his value, conservative values, and everything he has said. I agree. I like what he says.
I think Vivek, if he could keep a Senate seat, I don't know how many years are left in this Senate seat. Maybe it's 2 or 3 years. He might then could look for higher office because he has no political experience. He's so young. I think it would help him with his future aspirations. But with J.D. Vance being 39 years old, a former Marine, and I guess you've heard about his book that was made a movie. Netflix said the movie has had over an increase of 1,000% watching it in the last 24 hours.
Oh my gosh.
So I think it's amazing. Jennifer Lawrence came after him and said he is not a hillbilly, his humble means. She said he's a rich blankety blank just like me. And but he handled it well. But I think it's going to be interesting. Mr. Vance is going to be, because this is what I don't think folks are realizing. I think you're like me. You think for the future. Trump's only got 4 years, and you've got to have a future face of the party. Don't you think it was brilliant of Trump to pick a guy 39? He'll be 43 in 2028. Ron DeSantis could have been this guy. Ron DeSantis messed up. Going against Trump. I mean, Ron can run for president, but if J.D. Vance does a good job of being a VP and stays under the tutelage of Trump, this guy can maybe go 8 years.
Oh yeah, no, that's a very brilliant point for sure.
But anything else come out at the convention? Any other pointers or personalities that jump out at you?
Well, I was going to ask you. I'm trying to find the article here. It was on LifeSite News. I was disappointed, and I wanted to know your opinion. The GOP closed out day one of the convention with a prayer to a pagan god by Harmeet Dillon.
Yeah, I and also that lady that did the prayer with the scarf. That is a pagan god as well. Did you know that?
Is it two different prayers we're talking about?
I got a picture of it. One of my listeners sent it to me. Well, I can't.
But she did put the scarf on her head during the prayer, so you might be thinking Harmeet Dillon.
Yeah, this lady did a prayer and she sang and did a little thing, but the God that she mentions in the prayer is actually a demonic being.
Why the guru?
And so I think a lot of folks don't know that.
Wow.
But it's going to be
a demonic god.
Well, they're trying to broaden the tent of the GOP. And here's the thing. Matt Walsh, I'll just go with him. That Amber Rose that spoke, that I was very impressed with. She has 24 million followers on Instagram. I mean, she is like the Black Taylor Swift. The libs are going to bring Taylor Swift out. Well, they just squashed Taylor Swift. This lady's got more influence, I think, than Taylor. Taylor's got Swifties, but Amber Rose has got more impact in the culture that you're trying to reach. But with that said, she ran with the Kardashians, and she called herself a slut and different other names. Matt Walsh, the conservative, came out slamming. He couldn't believe that the GOP had her on the platform. But she said, I did my own research. I found out what my father said about Trump is true. He's not a racist and all that. All he could see was that she had tattoos on her forehead and that what she did in her past.
Right.
I think the GOP is going to have to be a little bit more opening, because you're not going to be able to win elections with just the church and Christians. For two reasons. One, the church has become very much a coward. They won't get involved. Most Christians, they want a godly nation, but they won't fight for it. But the second reason is because the church is in decline.
Yeah.
That's just my opinion.
Yeah, and maybe, maybe opening it up and asking her to speak, will open up a lot of more minds to hopefully come over to the conservative side, and maybe it could, they could wind up devoting their lives to Jesus too.
Well, I've played her twice this morning, today, and I played it yesterday. But Amber Rose, it's 5 minutes and 22 seconds. It's very much worth anyone's time to listen to her pretty much saying, and now she says, these are my people. But here's one thing she said that rocked him too. She said, I realize that Trump country loves white, black, gay, straight, all are welcomed. And she goes, and now these are my people. And he took exception with the alternate lifestyles. And I am not supporting gay rights. I'm not supporting gay marriage. I'm not trying to say that at all. But what I am saying is, if you want to win an election, you're going to have to build a bridge with them. The ones that have fiscal conservative views, etc. Because it's going to be hard to win a presidential election if you think the only ones you're going to win it with are the evangelical Christian.
Right.
I know there's preachers out there that can't believe I just said that, but I'm just telling you. I'm just telling you. Look, Trump right now knows his MAGA base are God-fearing, patriotic people, the majority, but that's only maybe 38, 42% of the country.
Wow.
And not all of them will vote. Christians are lazy voters.
I was just going to say that because I think you had said that on another show, is that Christian evangelicals, have low voter turnout.
Well, especially if they think it's either a blowout or they think they can't win. If they believe the media lies, and that's where the 2016 election really shocked the world, because we normally have a 38% at best voter turnout up till that time. Thanks to Donald Trump, those rallies, etc., it exceeded 40%. So that extra 3 to 4% voter turnout was what put him over the top. And I think now in this 2020 election with Biden, I believe they came real close to even, it wasn't 50%, but I believe it was in the high 40s.
Okay.
Now, if everybody would just vote, you wouldn't be able to cheat because the algorithms would be blown up. If we could get 60 to 70% of the population, I don't care if you vote liberal, conservative, Scooby-Doo, independent, whatever, just vote. Right. It makes those algorithms, they can't cheat that way. They're going, oh, crap-a-roo. If there's not enough humans, if we throw in our cheating at the population of these growth areas, because like in Fulton County, there's supposedly right now 180 to 200 folks that voted more than our residents of the county.
Oh, my gosh.
That's where Fannie DeWanny Willis is from, and our former police chief that just had to resign here in Chattanooga that's got 17 charges against her. Birds of a feather flock together. And one of her 17 charges is voter issues.
Yep.
So
it sure is.
With that said, Maria, Moms for America, you guys are very political motivated, right?
Yes, Moms for America Action is.
So what would be your message to moms or Christians out there that they're very timid, they don't want to get involved, and some don't even vote? What would be your word to them?
Well, if they've been witnessing everything that has been going on, especially the war on our children, and the overreach of government, it's like, let your vote be your voice. If you're struggling to get a gallon of milk, or choosing, as our president says, Kimberly Fletcher, choosing between a gallon of milk and a gallon of gas, the mama bears are a huge base, and we're raising the next generation of patriots. So we need to leave this country much better than we found it for our children, and that is why we need to go to the ballot box.
Well, what do you think about, because it's going to happen, the censoring that's going to come out, Facebook's already put me on notice twice on this show today.
Oh boy.
Threatening.
Really?
Oh yeah. But see, now that I've got Rumble, X, we've got Locals, we're on True Social, and so many others. They, it's like they've backed off. I think they realize they're not my only social media source now, and we're over. Well, I don't want to brag about the numbers. It sounds like I'm bragging, but we are.
No,
we're kicking butt with the ratings right now and with the numbers.
Congrats.
One of my pages alone is got 50,000, and another's at 21. And you add the others in, there's a good chance we're between 100 and 150 viewers per show. Because you throw in Street Level America, Heartbeat USA, that's got me in 32 states, Mexico, Canada, and we've got also 96.9 is just a local. It's a small station here, but that still helps. And so we're getting the word out. I'm getting messages literally from around the country, Maria, that there's a pastor that's standing up, and I don't mean this in any way. They said they wish their pastor would get more involved. With the election between now and November, 3 months? Do you expect? Because Biden said tone it down, but then his NAACP speech yesterday was very, very, again, just radically unkind. Do you think we're going to have more shootings, more violence?
Oh my gosh! If the attempted assassination's any indicator, which I really pray it's not, you just don't know what desperation is going to come out over the next few months.
Well, there was a guy arrested in Milwaukee today that tried to get a gun in the convention.
Oh my gosh! And then they shot and killed somebody yesterday who came after the police with a knife.
Yeah. So that's already. Both sides have radical nut jobs, ready to. I mean, the conservatives. There's some hillbilly bubbas. They're ready to put in a chaw of tobacco and break out their great-great-grandparents Smith and Wesson, and it's going to get ugly if they keep this up. And I think they kind of want that.
Right.
Have you heard of the Blue Anon conspiracy?
I have not. I saw that you posted that, and I was curious what that's all about.
You can go to the Gateway Pundit. They've got an article on it. Tim Pool on Timcast. I was listening to him 3 days ago. He's the first one that mentioned Blue Anon, but it's a conspiracy group that's far left. They're the progressive far left. And then you got the QAnon. That's the patriots, if you will, the white Christian nationalists to the far right. And the Blue Anon and the QAnon, far left versus far right. Well, the one thing they both agree on here recently, they're talking about, is they both think that Trump faked his own shooting and slapped his ear with stage blood, and that he really didn't get shot. And so you've got the far left Blue Anons and you have the far right QAnons on the same page. Is it possible that MK Ultra type CIA is manipulating the country and getting folks angry at one another with the labels and with all that stuff to where they want to get to where maybe we won't have an election? They want civil unrest. Do you see that?
I wouldn't doubt that, just because they know who's going to win, and there's a lot of desperation out there,
Well, my concern is there are people. Now, Alex Jones, I know he's out there, but he went on yesterday and said he believes they're going to try to go after Trump in a bigger way with either some kind of a bomb or some kind of an explosive device that he believes it was a legitimate. I think it was an inside job. I don't see how this kid did it without some help.
Oh my gosh, I know. And the answers you're getting from the director of Secret Service are ridiculous.
Well, you travel around the country to all these big rallies. You've been to Mar-a-Lago. You've probably seen security, right?
Yes. Oh yeah.
In just the places you've been, can you imagine a kid getting a 12-foot ladder, a rifle, and a backpack through security?
Yeah, and how is that one building not secured? How is there not a sniper up there? Yeah, how does he come in with a ladder that size? And how does, I read Charlie Kirk said that Secret Service spotted this kid 3 hours before the rally started.
Yeah, the timeline has been released, and I read it with Jolene. My Georgia Bulldog reporter sent it to me. At 3 o'clock, the assassin under suspicion when rangefinder set off metal detectors. You know, a rangefinder is what golfers or a hunter uses. Well, at 3 o'clock, it set off metal detectors, and that alerted authorities. And then at 3:45, the sniper spots the assassin on the roof and radios it in. And then it's 3 hours later, at 6:02 to 6:04, they still allow Trump to take the stage. And at 6:11, after annoying 7 minutes to set up his shot, the assassin brandishes his rifle at a cop, and then seconds later, he gets 8 shots off.
How?
Where
did you see that timeline, Macil?
I'll send it to you. It's on not Twitter. What's it called now? X. John Acaso Rodham. He's a part of North Carolina. Looks like. Let me. I'll just text it to you right now. But
thank you.
He put that out. My Georgia Bulldog reporter is big on Twitter. X, and sends me all this stuff. This Thomas Matthew was at the rally 3 hours before the Trump shooting. They've got pictures of him. He was sitting around, walking around. It's got pictures now. Someone has off security of his big backpack. I mean, this is so. There's no way this guy gets through security without some help.
Right.
This is ridiculous. And the Fox News and News Nation reported this morning, I was watching, where they have now found out he bought a ladder at the Home Depot or Lowe's, I think it's Home Depot, the day before. And it's a collapsible ladder, so he had a ladder there. And you know he's a member of Antifa. Did you know he's a member of Antifa?
Yeah, I just read that today. He's a Trump hater. He's a member of Antifa, and they believe the only reason he signed up, registered to be a Republican, is to do something against Trump.
Well, remember, they were trying to get people to register as Republicans in different states to vote in open primaries to try to keep Trump off ballots back early in the year, especially in Colorado. But anyway, I don't think any logical American. But if you go back, you got this BlueAnon and QAnon groups that recruit and tell their spins on what they see and how they feel life is going. Now the QAnon people, I've got to wonder, do you have many Q people in your circle?
I don't, but I have. It's disappointing to see the people that I do believe are getting their info from QAnon, because they're conservatives and they believe that this was all staged, and it breaks my heart to see that, and I don't understand why they think this had to happen. Do you?
Well, not only that, they all have been pushing for 4 years that John F. Kennedy did not die, Jr.,
right,
and that he was going to be Trump's VP. I've got to wonder when they announced, because they all would tell me, just wait to the convention. This one guy said, you wait, they're going to bring John F. Kennedy out the convention. Well,
oh, you're serious?
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
Oh, yeah. I've got some friends that are very strong Q folks, and I don't make fun of them. And they listen on the air. They hear me say, like when I'm talking to you, I'm not trying to sound like I'm making fun, but I just say, hey, I hope you don't get mad. I don't believe like you. I once followed the Q movement because back in the pandemic, we're all locked in our houses. I think we were all watching some of these home-cooked videos and conspiracy theories and who knows what. But long and short, they blew it on the far left, the QAnon far right. Now they're both agreeing for the first time, is what Tim Cass said, on the belief that Trump faked his own assassination for, of course, different reasons.
Right.
That's what's interesting.
It is. It's mind-boggling, but yeah, it's interesting why they think that way.
Now, little things that I think give people a little hope or momentum is like the recent finding against Jack Smith. You know, that he was not approved by the president or Congress. And they're saying the reason Joe Biden didn't approve is because Joe Biden's not the real president. Trump has been all this time because of devolution.
Oh boy.
But see that he was an illegitimate prosecutor, and it was Clarence Thomas that pointed that out. You remember in his brief?
Really?
Yeah, from the Supreme Court, and that made the news. And then, sure enough, the federal judge and Miss Cannon down in Florida says, yeah, he's not a legitimate prosecutor. He's not been assigned by. You can only be a prosecutor, a special prosecutor, by Congress or by the president.
Okay.
And Merrick Garland's on record. He was asked, was he assigned by President Biden? And Merrick Garland said no. So he's on the record of saying no. So Merrick Garland appointed him, just like Fannie the Wanny Willis appointed her boyfriend Wade. So you got two guys that really, when they both had federal prosecutors on payroll that could have done the bidding.
Wow.
But they
so
went
is Garland going to see any consequences for what he did?
Well, we hope so. But here's the kicker. When they met in D.C., because when Wade's wife filed lawsuit, because he filed divorce papers on her. Well, she got hold of all his finances and put out there all of his MasterCard charges. That's what got the Fannie Wanny thing going, because he was charged, because the government, the state of Georgia was paying him. Well, he was charging the state of Georgia for all of his trips, and sure enough, in his statements, he'd been going to D.C. So here's why, this is a Macil theory, they needed guys that were not official federal prosecutors so that they could have some kind of plausible deniability for these secret meetings in D.C. that we now know that happened with Merrick Garland, Harris, Fannie the Wanny Willis, and Lolita James, the big heavy dude from New York, Bragg.
Yeah.
And they wove in there Jack Smith and Mr. Wade that were not official prosecutors, and supposedly there's three others that they have, but by them not being official prosecutors, there's some wiggle room of the law that gave them they thought an advantage, which has now turned out to be a huge liability, because they had to drop the whole case. And many think the case in Georgia is probably going to be jeopardized too because of the immunity ruling. The New York case and the Georgia case, they're going to have to go back and re-examine all their evidence and witnesses, because if any of them have presidential immunity, their testimony needs to be stricken. Therefore, a mistrial. They'll have to get all new juries, go through the process all again with the immunity in there, and Trump's going to be president by then.
Wow. And then what about all the counts he was found guilty in New York? What do you think might happen with that?
That's got to be a mistrial, in my opinion, because a lot of those people that testified should have had presidential immunity, and that's what Trump and them were saying the whole time. These were people on his staff, people, if you're on the staff of the president, you're allowed. He's allowed to use presidential immunity and block them from testifying.
Okay.
But they said he didn't have presidential immunity. So that many think that's why he's delayed the sentencing of Trump.
Yeah.
Because he's probably going to have to declare a mistrial.
Okay.
And Alvin Bragg is wasted all that money. 71% of all of his staffing and his finances have been on this one case.
Oh my gosh.
He let over 300 felons loose, so he didn't want to prosecute them. he released 300 people that should have gone before the New York court. But hey, I don't have time to deal with them, so I'm just going to let him go. He dropped all charges on over 300 legitimate felons.
And look at how many future, I hate to say this, future reoffenses they're going to do.
Oh, yeah. And New York, you couldn't pay me to go to New York. I mean, if I got a pass tomorrow, you got an all-expense trip to New York City, I'd say give it to somebody else. I would not step foot in that city.
Oh, right.
One, because
I still can't believe how they could just change laws to fit their agenda too, like the statute of limitations for one thing.
Well, the lady, he was found innocent. He didn't rape her because her charges were not plausible, but he offended her, so she got defamation of character money. You remember that?
Yes, you have one of our Tennessee elected officials calling him a rapist right now.
Yeah, and he didn't rape her. And I mean, have you looked at the lady? Who would touch that? She fell off the ugly tree, hit every branch on the way down. There's no way. Yeah, and a billionaire, Donald Trump, who, let's be honest, he could have any attractive woman he wanted. There's no way. No. And she said it happened in a changing room. Why would Donald Trump? He owns a hotel.
Right.
If he wanted to do the bow chicka bow bow, he would have said, "Hey, come up to room so and so." The whole thing's ludicrous.
Oh yeah.
But
every part of it.
But there's some liberals that believe it because it fits their narrative of hating Trump.
Yeah.
And I'm going, that's just like me saying I could beat LeBron James. He's aging. I can take him one-on-one in basketball. And then I can't prove I can beat him. But he offended me, so I deserve, several $1 million in compensation. That's stupid.
Yeah.
And I just don't understand. I do, but the stupidity of some people that buy this stuff. I don't know.
It's still amazing, but I still think a lot of people are in their little bubbles and not like this Amber Rose said, not doing their own research, not having critical thinking, and so they still believe and still are hell bent on voting for Biden.
Well, they let CNN and MSNBC or Fox News, they let them do all their thinking for them.
Right.
And that's where, even I like Newsmax. My favorite's One America News. I think they're the most conservative, One America News. But, all the cables dropped One America News because they were so pro-Trump. And actually, they were the ones that still kept the election infection theories going. They felt the election was stolen, and that was one of the main reasons DirecTV and Spectrum and all them dropped One America News, because they didn't want them sharing the testimonials and stuff like that like they were doing. And that took guts. They could have stopped, but they didn't. But anyway, Newsmax is probably the most conservative kind of, if you can find on there, but they're like Fox News Light. Now, I love Greg Kelly. But I believe Todd Starnes has shifted over there. Wendy Bell, and so they've made some good moves. I like Wendy Bell. Have you ever heard of Wendy Bell?
I have heard of her.
Yeah, she was kind of like a Carrie Lake. She was in the news media, but got tired of the minutia and the liberal and them censoring her. She's got now the Wendy Bell Network. If you're a lady wanting kind of woman power, Wendy Bell will give it to you. She's a fired up. I'd love to have her on my show sometime. We've been trying to connect. We've left messages, but it's summer and I gave up. I'll be honest with you, this summer's. Judy broke her ankle. My dad fractured his neck. I slammed my finger in a door. And we got a food pantry. I could go down my list, but I'm like going, I'm just going to not worry about it till after August. But I hope to. Yeah. Well, we got about 15 minutes left. What's your thoughts on? We've got the GOP wrapping up. JP will talk tonight, and Trump will be tomorrow night to kind of crescendo. What do you think will happen? The Democrats are talking about doing a virtual, if you will, and if they can get Biden to step down, they want to do a virtual convention so they can get their candidate approved early. Do you think, is that legal?
Why? What's it got to do with being a virtual event? I thought they were cowards because they know that there's going to be pro-Palestine protesters coming to the convention.
Well, that's my whole point. I think this is what I think they're going to wait till after GOP. I think eventually Joe Biden's going to have to step down. He's losing support. But what they want to do is they want to have a virtual primary. Okay, they should have let Kennedy and others primary Biden back. If I'm a Democrat, I think I'd be upset with that. That you're now going to have a virtual primary. To pick your candidate that then show up in August. Now, I don't see how that's legal. Unless you rewrite, I think you can rewrite your bylaws and stuff. I guess you have a committee and do that. But
they're always rewriting the laws for everything else.
But who do you think, if you were a guesser, who do you think they come up with if they can get Biden to step down? Will it be Harris? Will it be one of the others? Because they're all polling badly against Trump right now.
My gosh, it can't be Harris. I really don't think so. I don't know who else. I mean, I hate to think of anyone else.
Well, see, they're worried about Dan. I think they have almost thought, hey, we're probably going to lose this presidential election, but we don't want to lose the Senate and down balloting. I wonder if they try to just find somebody that can take some swings at Trump to make the party look strong. And the reason they can't, I think, use Michelle Obama is because there's so much stuff about the big mic and all that stuff. And to be honest with you, if that weren't true, I think she would run. But I think there's possibly some validity. So they know that after the Budweiser, the Bud Lighting, America has pushed back. And real quickly, did you know CNN just announced 100 layoffs 2 weeks ago? They just announced yesterday they're disbanding their DEI department by half. CNN, yeah. The Lip Lock Liberal News Network, their DEI program's getting cut in half.
Well, you know who else is cutting the DEI? I don't know if you've been following Robbie Starbuck, but man, is he exposing some major corporations.
Oh, Tractor Supply. His thing on Tractor Supply was gold.
Oh, he's phenomenal, and I told him that. And his next one was John Deere, and sure enough, they're backpedaling now too.
Well, see, and that's a shame that somebody has to tell the truth and expose them. They shouldn't have. They knew this wouldn't fly. They shouldn't have embraced it to start with.
Right, but you just wonder how they're paid off or they're bullied with getting ESG scores for their stock.
Well, and it's all about money.
Yeah.
They get the sugar daddy stuff. Just like this union that came in over at Volkswagen. You know, they failed, 4 times? It finally got passed because they paid people off. And now these employees, but the first ones, because I got a friend that just lost his job at Volkswagen. He's an engineer. He's one of the 50 that got cut as soon as the union came in. Guess what they did? They had to cut 50 people because they got, the Volkswagen has to pay for some of that stuff. You know, they're going to lose all their profit sharings. The employees are. They're not thinking about this. And their EVs are not selling. They're actually stepping back from the EV.
Yeah, I think they're not the only car manufacturer that's stepping away from the EVs.
Well, the recent poll by Harvard University, 49% of those that own an EV said their next car will be going back to gas operated because the EVs, even though they like the ride per se, they're too high to maintenance. They're too expensive to keep up.
Well, yeah. I mean, look, if it needs a new battery, you might as well total your car.
Or inconvenient. They said it's very inconvenient they have to wait so long to charge their battery and plan around that. It's just so I think EVs. I think Biden is a dismal failure, of course, with the border and the economy. But pushing the EVs as fast and acting like that's our only choice, I think it's also eventually going to kick Gavin Newsom, because did you see where X and Tesla are leaving California to Texas?
I sure did.
And that, that's got to be some major money and jobs.
Good.
Jobs. That's a lot of people that's going to lose their jobs, or they're going to relocate to Texas.
The only way they'll learn, if you don't have a moral compass, then you're at least going to pay attention when it hurts your bank account.
Well, like this Rose young lady, I think people, one thing she said in her speech, she goes, I'm pissed off about the higher prices of gas, groceries, as a mama, and she spoke as a mama bear for a moment there, and you're going, wow. Here's a lady that walked liberal among the liberals, is very successful, 24 million followers on Instagram, 4 to 5 million on X. So she's got like 30 million followers, and she's saying
incredible.
Biden stinks, I love Trump. Wow. Don't tell me that's not going to swing some people.
Well, and I forget that famous Hollywood trainer, she just left California, and she ticked off all the liberal boxes. She's a lesbian. She's, married with little kids, and she sees everything that's the destruction of California, and she finally left.
Well, and you go, wow. Now, another quick subject, because we got like 8 minutes left. Did you see where RFK Jr. is finally getting Secret Service protection? Is it because the Democrats, and this is their only play in my opinion, they might coalesce and embrace Robert Jr. as their candidate to replace Biden?
I don't know about that. I just think it was a ploy to cover their butts because of the election. I don't know about embracing them, maybe.
Well, if they have an open primary, like they're talking some kind of a virtual primary, and they get to, and Kamala would be one of the I'm wondering what would happen is, say you put Kennedy, Kamala Harris, let's just throw in Akeem Jeffries, just for and you had 3 people in the Democrats, and you allowed, for some kind of, I don't know how you do a virtual election. I wonder how that, because I bet you Kennedy would win.
I could understand that.
Among the Democrats, I'm saying, he's just not as far left, and he's anti-big pharma. Now, he's pro-abortion. He checks that box because he's up to 12-month abortion. I'm very disappointed he believes that.
I can't even wrap my brain around that.
Yeah, that's not 12 months. You mean 9 months. But he, his favorability, when they did a poll, this was 3 months ago, he outdid Biden and Trump in a favorability poll. Now, I can't remember who did the poll, but he was at 57% of the nation said they liked him more than the other 2 candidates. But he bombed out on the economy and other things because, he has no track record and he's never been in office. He's just an environmental lawyer.
Right.
And so, anyway,
I just don't understand how somebody who fights so hard for children, because he's the head of Children's Health Defense, and I followed that nonprofit all throughout COVID, could be so radical with his views on abortion.
United Airlines apologizes after Terrell Davis removed from a flight in handcuffs. Do you remember Terrell Davis, the running back for the Broncos?
No, what happened there?
One of my listeners just sent this to me, said they've apologized, but he was escorted off a flight, United Airlines. Wow.
Did they say why?
Doesn't say why. I don't have the why, but that just happened, and the fire marshals cuffed him and escorted him off. Another listener says, J.D. Vance, after listening to a couple of clips you played, he communicates very well and does it with confidence and surety. he's going to blow Kamala out. I can't wait for the vice president debate. Now, the thing is, were you just imitating Kamala with that laugh?
Oh, gosh.
But can you imagine? Now, if Kamala takes Joe's place, she's got to pick a VP to take on J.D. Vance. And I wonder who she picks. See, that's the other thing. The Democrats, they're so far down the road. Not only are they looking possibly for a presidential nominee, they didn't have to find a VP nominee.
I don't even want to think about that. Oh, my gosh.
I love to think the what ifs because I love to see them implode. It's kind of like Alabama right now. With Nick Saban leaving, Alabama's trying to act like everything's fine, but it's not. They've lost a lot of recruits. There's a lot of, wetting their pants, but they're trying to act like everything's just fine. No, you just lost the best coach of the century, and you're not going to be as good. Alabama, just get ready, but that's okay. Watching Alabama and the Democrats implode at the same time, I'm having a great few months here.
You're just sitting back and eating your popcorn, aren't you?
I am. Well, we got just a few minutes. Can you tell folks how in the world can they get in touch with Moms for America if somebody would like to join, start a group, or make a donation?
And I just love and appreciate you're such a cheerleader for Moms for America, Macil. If they would like to support us, take advantage of our resources, whatever they like, they can go to momsforAmerica.us.
And the other thing I always tell homeschoolers, you guys have a citizenship class for children or young people to let them learn the real history of America. Is that correct?
We have what's called the Liberty Kids Club, and we have a 12-week class that anyone can just take advantage of. You can download our coloring pages and everything, but it does teach about our Constitution at their level. We rewrote the original curriculum of the cottage meeting class that we teach our mamas.
Well, I'm so excited. Real quick, IRS makes it easier to use your retirement account like an ATM. Have you heard about this?
No.
Wow. I'm just reading it. Evidently, you can, as long as you leave $1,000 balance in your retirement. So if you have like $1,500, I guess you can take $500 out like an ATM. IRS making it easier. When has IRS made anything easy?
I know.
That sounds too good to be true, doesn't it?
I know. It does.
Well, thanks, Maria. God bless you. We'll talk to you next week.
All right. God bless you, Macil.
America, hope you have a great week, and listen to J.D. Vance tonight. I'll be back.
Being fired, I knew that this was a moment in American history that had to be documented. I mean, it's our job as journalists to do this work.
This photo now snapped into the time capsule of American history by Associated Press photographer Evan Vucci. They say a picture is worth 1,000 words. This one telling the story of July 13th, 2024.
I don't know if you've heard this, but there's actually an attempt to try to take that down off all social media. Don't be too surprised if in the near future, Facebook, Instagram, and all them, the famous iconic picture of Donald Trump with the fist in the air, if they don't try to take it down and make it sound like it's not something that they can allow to be on the internet, they'll find some racist comment or something, right? This is the song about the fight, fight, fight as we head out. God bless.
Impeached twice, arrested 4 times, 91 charges they tried to undermine. They attempted to take him off the ballot, faced an assassin shot. But even after getting shot, he raised his fist high. Fight, 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 America's pride. With freedom's flag, we'll never hide. In the face of the storm, we'll unite.
fight through fire.